Hey guys, tonight we're wandering through a garden where flowers hiss, and not just the snakes. You creep down moonlit corridors, velvet petals kissing your ankles like overeager housecats. Shadows stretch and snap like cobras mid-strike, barely missing your heels. Medusa's roses bloom everywhere, petals glossier than oiled marble, and they're humming. Not elevator music hums, either. These blooms vibrate with secrets only insomniacs and poets bother decoding. Oh, and watch those thorns. One prick could turn your bloodstream into a fossil exhibit. Ever heard of Assyrian kings using crushed roses in war rituals? They'd scatter petals to mask the stench of dying soldiers. Fitting, since Medusa's blooms smell like victory and vengeance swirled into perfume. Historians still argue whether these gardens existed at all, or if delirious desert travelers hallucinated them. Speaking of delirious, those petals keep brushing your calves, right? Don't swat them. They're mapping your pulse. Every rustle whispers coordinates to something buried deeper in the maze. Remember how Victorians obsessed over florography, sending coded messages through bouquets. This is that, but cranked to 11. Each rose's hum spikes. When you step left, drops when you veer right. Your feet crunch gravel made of dried lotus seeds. They say Cleopatra slept on pillows stuffed with them, chasing prophecies in her dreams. Pause, breathe. Catch that scent. Night blooming jasmine with a hint of burnt honeycomb. Some claim it's the Gorgon's breath recycling through the soil. Others swear it's residual spice from Babylonian trading caravans lost here centuries ago. Either way, your lungs feel heavier, fuller, like you're inhaling liquid obsidian. Ahead, a rose bush twists into an archway. Its thorns glint like minuscule scimitars. Step closer, the humming sharpens into fractured notes. A nursery rhyme, a war chant. Your temples ache trying to parse it. Hold up, those petals just rearranged themselves. They're spelling something now. Ancient Greek. No, older. Linear B script, the stuff they carved onto clay tablets in Mycenaean palaces. Don't bother translating. It's looping the same phrase. Turn back. Too late for that. The path behind you's dissolved into brambles. Expert tip. Stop anthropomorphizing flora. These roses aren't sentient, just hypercharged by millennia of divine curses. Probably. A breeze tousles your hair, carrying whispers from the greenhouse section. Yes, Medusa had a greenhouse. Don't question the logistics. Its glass panes were allegedly forged from volcanic sand and solar flares. Makes about as much sense as crocodile dung facials in ancient Egypt. But hey, beauty standards evolve. You round a corner and freeze. A statue kneels ahead, not stone, but petrified wood. Its face is half rose, half human, ivory petals replacing lips and lashes. Touch the splintered bark. Static zips up your arm. 1,000 hushed voices cramming into your nerves. They're arguing about irrigation schedules. Even immortal gardeners have bad days. To your left, A fountain gurgles molten silver. To your right, a hedgerow shaped like coiling serpents. Choose wrong, and you'll spend eternity as a topiary feature. Choose right. Maybe find out why Gorgon pollen makes mortals recite Sappho's lost poems backward. Nobody knows if that's a feature or a bug. The moon shifts, suddenly too close, its craters sharp as rose thorns. Your shadow stretches into the maze, elongated and wavering. Ever notice how moonlight here has weight? Like wet silk draped over your shoulders. It's why ancient Persians called the night sky the shroud of unspilled ink. You spot a bench marble veined with glowing moss. Sit. The stones warm, almost alive. A vine snakes around your wrist, not to restrain, but to steady you, oddly considerate for a plant that survived multiple apocalypses. A petal drifts onto your palm. It dissolves, leaving a residue that tastes like forgotten birthdays. Your pulse syncs with the garden's hum now. 3 beats pause, 2 beats, like a lullaby, arranged by a dyslexic composer. That scent shifts again, burnt honey morphing into myrrh and crushed peppercorns. Since when do gardens smell like Pharaoh Ramses' I's spice cabinet? Right, since never, unless you count that time archaeologists found ghost peppers in Tutankhamun's tomb. True story. Well, fringe theory. Your shoes sink deeper into the gravel. Those dried lotus seeds are sprouting, threading through your laces. They'll blossom by dawn, anchoring you here. Shake them off. Pronto. Ahead the corridor narrows, walls closing in by millimeters. Roses press against your cheeks, thorns retracting at the last second. Psychological warfare via floral near misses. Classic Medusa. You glimpse a courtyard through the brambles, its center dominated by a single rose, not red, not white, but a shifting gradient of storm cloud grays. Its stem pulses like a carotid artery. Touch it, and the garden inhales. Every petal, every thorn, every root stills. Even the moonlight freezes mid-drip. Your eardrums pop, pressure building like a submarine dive. Then, release. The rose detonates, silently, into a nebula of pollen. Each speck glows, etched with glyphs older than Babylon. They settle on your skin, absorbing into pores. A calendar of eclipses flares behind your eyelids. 7, no, 8 solar events nobody's witnessed yet. Blink, the courtyard's gone, replaced by another endless corridor. The roses hum louder, now a chorus of crackling static. Your fingers tingle, nails iridescent as abalone shells. Temporary side effect or permanent souvenir. Hope you liked sparkly manicures. The path slopes downward, grit crunching like shattered bone. A gate looms ahead, rusted iron tangled with flowering vines. Its bars creak open, inviting you into deeper shadows. Step through, but maybe check your 6 first. Those roses are leaning in petals quivering. Hungry, curious, can't tell. Either way, they're learning your pulse, mapping your tells. Wind sweeps through, suddenly icy. It carries a whisper you almost recognize, a voice coiled inside your own breath. Sleepwalker, it murmurs. You're right on time. The air tastes of salt and myrrh like forgotten offerings left at a shrine's doorstep. Your shadow stretches toward the fountain's basin, its marble veins pulsing faintly blue. Rome's engineers once built aqueducts stretching 30 miles to feed public fountains. But this isn't water. Cascades hang midair, shards of frozen light refracting into shapes that bite your eyes. Touch the rim, frost seeps into your fingerprints. A local legend claims Napoleon tried shipping a similar crystal spring to Paris, only for it to melt into vinegar by Marseille. Doubtful. But then again, the man did carry a portrait of Cupid everywhere. One droplet glints, trapped in its fall like a diamond comma. You've seen ice sculptures at Venetian parties, those vapid swans that weep all night. This defies weeping. Historians still argue whether Pompeii's garden fountains were for status or grief storage. Reach again, but your knuckles graze something gritty beneath the basin's lip. Ash. No, salt crusting the stone like dried tears. The Gorgon's sorrows, petrified and metric tons heavy. Cleopatra, that savvy self-mythologizer, allegedly bathed in rosewater and crocodile tears. This feels darker, older. A crack spiders across the fountain's base, too geometric to be natural. Follow the fault line with your nail. It branches into angular glyphs. Etruscan, Hittite. Either way, it spells mourning in a dialect dead before Babylon fell. Your breath fogs the nearest crystal thread, and for a heartbeat, it softens. A whisper slithers past, half syllables about betrayal and snake venom. You recoil. Too late. The salt beneath your fingers liquefies, staining your sleeve the gray of weathered grave markers. 3 steps back, the fountain hums as if pleased. Remember those Roman aqueducts. This thing predates them. Reverse-engineered grief, perhaps ancient nobility bottling bereavement for rainy centuries. A museum in Thessaloniki displays a tear-collecting urn from Alexander's era, though most assume it held perfume. The fountain's glow intensifies, casting your silhouette against ivy-strangled pillars. Notice how your shadow lacks a head. Let's not dwell. Pluck a petal from your sleeve, left over from Medusa's gardens. Drop it into the basin. The frozen threads shiver, etching the petal's edges into something resembling cursive. Not a language, a pattern, Fibonacci, but twisted like geometry after 3 sleepless nights. Archaeologists once found a Babylonian tablet calculating pi as 3/125, close enough for cuneiform. It's math as elegy. Wind slithers through the courtyard, carrying the scent of wet iron. The fountain's basin darkens glass black before erupting in a chorus of clicks. Each droplet rotates, aligning sharpened facets. A prismatic web materializes, an anti-rainbow swallowing moonlight. Stare too long, and you'll see shapes, serpents coiling, a crown dissolving, eyes weeping obsidian. Blink. Gone. Your ankle brushes salt again. Look down. The ground crusts over, encasing your boots in a brittle white shroud. Shake it off. The salt reforms instantly, patient as the tide. Some Hawaiian funerary rites used ocean salt to purify corpses, though admittedly with less clinginess. Scrape your soul against a pillar. The salt sighs, a sound you feel in your molars. A single droplet detaches from the frozen cascade, levitating toward your forehead. Dodge. It follows, relentless as a compass needle finding north. Remember Napoleon's vinegar spring? Maybe don't mention it aloud. The droplet hovers an inch from your brow before plunging into the salt at your feet. A sound like shattering stained glass, then silence. The glyphs on the fountain flare, then fade. You're sweating. Odd. The air bites with cold, yet your palms glisten. Wipe them on your thighs. Sticky. Not sweat. Sap. No, clear and scentless. Another droplet descends, this time landing in your cupped hand. It doesn't freeze, doesn't move, just sits, quivering like a jellyfish stranded on sand. Tilt your palm. It rolls against your lifeline seeking. Historians still argue whether the Third Sacred War started over a stolen bowl or a petrified tear. Drop the liquid onto the basin's edge. It fuses with the marble, leaving a scar like a swallow in flight. The fountain exhales, a vibration deeper than sound. All crystals glow amber now, the color of Athenian honey, before dimming to bone white. Your shadow regains its head. Progress, maybe. Salt crunches underfoot as you retreat, each step lighter than the last. The Gorgon's grief lingers, but so does lavender, strangely wafting from cracks in the stone. Someone once planted healing herbs in the arid soil of Masada's siege. This scent feels like that, defiant. Fragile. You press a palm to the courtyard's exit arch. The salt dissolves behind you, returning to its silent vigil. No, you don't look back. Fountains are for farewells. Sleepwalkers know this, but your boots carry a dusting of white, tiny crystals catching the moonglow. They'll melt by dawn. Probably. The salt grit fades underfoot, replaced by velveteen moss that glows like a crushed galaxy. Each step births constellations beneath your soles, star-flecked and cool as cellar stone. The arch above you, crumbling. Roman concrete once mixed volcanic ash for durability. Their aqueducts still stand millennia later. This masonry weeps powder, blushing lunar white when your shadow grazes it. A sentinel looms, its limestone face smoothed into anonymity. Not faceless, featureless. Big difference. You've seen those aura photos at psychic fairs. This statue radiates similar nonsense. Glacial patience. A joke forms, something about rock bottom therapy, but dies unspoken. 3 more sentinels flank the path, each progressively less human. The last one's missing an arm. Historians still argue whether such statues guarded tombs or marked ancient survey points. The moss thickens, cushioning your tread into silence. Your boot dislodges a pebble. It rolls, stops, rolls again, as if pushed. Observe the nearest sentinel's base. Beetles scuttle over lichen runes, their shells iridescent as oil slicks. One halts, antennae quivering toward your knee. In Borneo, certain tribes used bioluminescent fungi to light night hikes. This moss outshines their fire, yet casts no warmth. Wind riffles your collar, carving goose flesh down your neck. The sentinels hum, not audible, more a dental vibration, like chewing aluminum foil. You freeze. A 14th century monk's diary described singing statuary in Cappadocia, dismissed as ergot-induced hallucinations. This hum lacks melody. It's the sound a root makes splitting bedrock. The path narrows. Moss climbs the walls now, star clusters thickening where mortar once held. Press a palm to the glowing growth. It yields like memory foam, then stiffens, snaring your hand. Don't panic. Breathe. Medieval apothecaries prescribed moss poultices for insomnia. Their samples lacked opinions on sentient vegetation. The moss releases you, leaving a dusting of phosphorescence on your skin. It smells of static and elderberries. Ahead, the corridor kinks sharply. First rule of labyrinth navigation: never trust right angles. Yet here it is, a perfect 90-degree turn. The final sentinel guards this corner, its torso sprouting actual ivy, not decoration. Arteries. Green tendrils pulse upward, feeding a canopy of leaves that rustle without wind. Someone glued fake vines to statues in Pompeii's doomed gardens. This ivy bleeds chlorophyll when you snap a leaf. Moonlight slants through a crack overhead, smearing the path with silver. Your shadow stretches, warps, then snaps back like a rubber band. This happened in Plato's cave, minus the existential dread. The sentinels watch, non-judgmental, as fire escapes. One tilts fractionally. Maybe. Blink, it's motionless again. Sleep deprivation gifts whimsy. Kneel, examine the moss. Up close, each star is a microbe, bioluminescent diatoms arranged in pentagrams. They pulse slowly like a resting heartbeat. In 1923, a Louvre curator sneezed on a Van Gogh and triggered a restoration scandal. You resist the urge to sneeze now. The moss dims, retaliatory. Rubble litters the path, crumbled cornices, and the occasional brick stamped with indecipherable glyphs. Kick one. It skitters into darkness, fetching up against a sentinel's plinth. The statue's foot shifts, grinding the brick to powder. Coincidence? Probably. Definitely. Ancient Olmec colossal heads weigh up to 50 tons. This one's a toddler by comparison. The humming intensifies, now a felt presence between your molars. Your jaw aches. Renaissance dentists believed toothaches stemmed from stone mites, gnawing molars, hence the pliers' happy solutions. This vibration defies mites. It's symphonic, if symphonies were performed by fault lines. Ahead, the corridor ends at a circular chamber. No door, just an arch framing emptiness. The moss retreats here, leaving bare flagstones, polished by eons of absent feet. Enter. 12 sentinels line the walls, smaller, crouched. Their eyes glint with embedded quartz. Babylonian priests, used rock crystal for divining future droughts, and also sold overpriced, blessed pebbles to peasants. At the chamber's heart, a mosaic. Tesserae depict a serpent coiled around a dodecahedron. Roman dodecahedrons remain archaeology's favorite mystery. Sundial parts, knitting tools, elite toys. Touch the mosaic. It's warm. Your fingertips tingle, not unpleasantly, like licking a battery. Above, the ceiling yawns open, a jagged oculus framing stars. Not your stars. These constellations writhe, serpentine patterns that squirm if stared at directly. Ancient Persians mapped a Draco-like constellation they called Ajdaha, though theirs reportedly juggled comets. Retrace your steps, but the exit arch now hosts a curtain of spider silk. Strands glisten with dewdrops or cocoon fluid. Brush a finger across. The silk vibrates, humming Middle Sea. An art collective in Oslo once strung a forest with musical webs using piezoelectric fibers. This feels less curated. The humming stops. Eardrums throb in the sudden silence. A sentinel by the mosaic cracks, a fissure splitting its thorax. From the rift drifts pollen or spores. They taste of burnt honey and guilt. Cover your mouth. Too late. Your tongue goes numb, a Novocaine kiss. Medieval beekeepers believed honey could mute lies. This mute tastes thicker. Backing away, your heel crushes a moss star. It pops, releasing a gas that smells of wet dog and myrrh. The sentinels creak, stone grinding stone, as their heads pivot to track your retreat. Not a threat. A spectator sport. The spider silk curtain clings, stretching like saltwater taffy before snapping. Freedom. Cool air slaps your face, drying the spore residue on your lips. The sentinels resume their hum lower, now a lullaby for the corridor's next guest. Your shadow sprints ahead, eager to exit. Can't blame it. Leftover bioluminescence dusts your sleeves, fading as you pass into greener dark. Someone will study those sentinels someday. Write papers. Host symposia. For now, they guard nothing but moth wings and your retreating heartbeat, probably for the best. Your shadow pauses at the threshold, its edges fraying into luminescent threads. Before you stretches a gallery overgrown with silver vines, each tendril stitching constellations into ivy-laced walls. Touch one. It thrums, a subsonic purr resonating in your jawbone. Byzantine silk weavers once spun threads dipped in liquid mercury, their guild secrets lost to Ottoman cannon fire. This embroidery glows colder. A vine snakes toward your wrist, leaving frost trails on your pulse points. Pluck a strand. It unravels, revealing a patch of bare wall crawling with hieroglyphic beetles. Their carapaces flash cuneiform symbols. In 1895, a Budapest tailor claimed moth larvae wove golden thread in his sleep-soled, dream-spun waistcoats until skeptics found his hidden loom. These threads need no deception. The tapestry depicts Andromeda, but her chains are alive. Serpentine links writhe, dripping liquid starlight that hardens into pearls at your feet. Step on one. It crunches, shattering into firefly sparks. Renaissance astronomers mapped 48 constellations, most pirated from Babylonian star catalogs. Here, the stars pirouette, redrawing mythologies with every unraveled stitch. Wind gusts, a phantom breath lifting the tapestry's hem. Beneath, not stone, an abyss filled with swimming shadows, their forms suggesting spines, beaks, hips. Some claim the Voynich manuscript's unreadable ink was mixed with dissolved meteors. Lean closer. The abyss exhales, smelling of burnt parchment and ripe blackberries. Grasp a thicker thread. It's textured like braille. Run your thumb across. Your occipital lobe tingles, an involuntary memory of sledding down frosted hills. Psychologists call this phenomenology the body remembering what the mind forgets. The thread dims rejected nostalgia. A section sags, threads drooping like slack guitar strings. Tug one. The wall ripples, distorting Orion into a Möbius strip. Aztec featherworkers could weave illusions of depth, their Quetzal plumes mimicking 3D mosaics. This manipulation feels less artistic, more alive. Moonlight shifts, exposing a moth eclipsed within the embroidery. Its wings beat once, a throb that unstitches an entire star cluster. Cuneiform beetles scatter their symbols, reordering midair. Catch one, it dissolves, inking your palm with a phrase that reads, "Tell no awake." Medieval nuns embroidered priestly vestments with inks brewed from oak gall and envy. These threads shimmer without pigment, tapping directly into your optic nerves. Blink rapidly. The afterimage writes itself across your eyelids, a pulsating neon Babylon. A vine snaps, recoiling into the wall. The breach reveals gears behind the tapestry, obsidian cogs, grinding soundlessly. Archaeologists found a Byzantine clocktower mechanism in the 1980s, its purpose still debated. This machinery feels older, hungrier. Pull a dangling thread, the kind your grandma told you never to touch. The tapestry hisses, releasing a cord that vibrates your molars. Ottoman healers used harmonic forks to rebalance nervous humors. A scam, until your jaw starts humming along. A section depicts Lerna, the hydra's heads replaced by blooming lotuses. Brush a petal. It detaches, crisping into ash before hitting the floor. Ming Dynasty embroiderers could stitch 8-sided lotuses using a single hair. These flowers crave more follicles. The central constellation pulses, Cygnus contorted into a treble clef. Press your ear to the threads. Distant chanting swells, Gregorian meets, throat singing. Musicologists found a 10th century manuscript suggesting Mongol shamans taught chant harmonics to French monks. The tapestry swallows the theory, crushing it into dissonance. Another thread thicker, anchored by a brooch shaped like Ouroboros. Unclasp it. The serpent uncoils, swallowing its own tail, becomes swallowing your shadow's fingers. Let go. The brooch reknits, now depicting Icarus mid-plummet. Lesson learned. Probably not. Fibers tangle around your ankle, gentle as a lover's bracelet. Yank free. A 9-pointed star unravels, plummeting into the abyss. Pythagoras worshipped the Enneagram, believed it held cosmic truths. Its descent sounds like weeping cellos, lightning forks across the tapestry, a jagged tear mending itself mid-apocalypse. Historians still argue whether the Antikythera mechanism predicted eclipses or just tracked Olympic dates. This machinery tracks nothing but your accelerating breath. The vines retreat, exposing a fresco beneath the embroidery. A woman spins thread from her hair, rodents at her feet, stitching the filaments into tapestries. Dream logic says this means something. Your cerebellum votes for retreat. Backpedal threads snag your collar. They release without resistance, their loyalty fickle as summer storms. Your shadow tugs you onward, eager to abandon this fusion of art and arrhythmia. The vines reweave your path, closing like a theater curtain post-curtain call. You emerge into cooler dark. The tapestry's hum lingers, a phantom vibrato between your molars. It fades, but your uvula keeps time. The hum between your molars thickens, coalescing into a distant tolling. Through jagged archways, a tower swells its curved ribs, suggesting a moth's cocoon mid-metamorphosis. Gears protrude like wing veins, translucent membranes pulsing with bioluminescent oil. 15th century Nuremberg's henline clocks fit in pockets. This monstrosity could house a village. A door yawns lips of petrified silk, peeling back. Step inside. The air clings humid as a swallow's nest. Stairwells spiral upward, their steps fused vertebrae from creatures you can't name. Your foot sinks slightly, stairs flex like cartilage. In 2003, restorers found 12 pounds of petrified honey in Prague's astronomical clock. This machinery runs sweeter. The first gear brushes your shoulder, a moth-wing vein broader than your outstretched arms. It rotates shedding scales that dissolve into vanilla-scented mist. 7-toned chimes echo each strike, releasing droplets of amber liquid. Catch one, it evaporates before hitting your palm. Soviet cosmonauts smuggled hornet larvae into orbit, claimed zero gravity, honey tasted like liquid nostalgia. This nectar defies comparison. Climb, the walls throb, respirating. Portcullises drip wax, sealing corridors behind you. A cogwheel snaps, teeth grazing your calf. The cut weeps honey. Historians still argue whether Malta's missing hypogeum clocktower was hydrological or hallucinogenic. Both theories feel plausible here. Reach the belfry. Pendulums swing mummified chrysalises dangling from adamantite chains. Their papery skins ripple, still housing twitching mandibles. Grab a pendulum. It resists, then surrenders, depositing a dream in your inner ear. 18th century Viennese midwives hung dream catchers made of spider webs and laudanum. This is crueler empathy. The mainspring gleams, a column of fused mercury and moth eyes. Touch it. Your retinas burn, flooded with visions of caterpillars chewing through grandfather clocks. Stumble back. A chime erupts, soaking your shirt in sticky resonance. Your heartbeat sinks, triple-time arrhythmia, mocking cardiac anatomy. Light fractures through wing gears, projecting a zodiac onto your chest. Gemini's twins clutch each other's umbilical cords. The 1666 Great Fire of London incinerated Westminster's star-chart ceiling. But this horoscope feels less decorative, more diagnostic. Rusted levers protrude, labeled in glyphs that squirm when scrutinized. Pull one. A trapdoor explodes, releasing a maelstrom of clockwork bees. They cascade, stingless, but each buzz whispers today's regrets. Swat them, their corpses melt into your pores, souring into tomorrow's anxieties. MEDIEV, a L Chinese letter, used incense and rodent treadmills to mark hours. Progress smells like fermented pollen. A gallery overlooks the gears, floor grates, revealing larvae squirming below. Their bodies pump fluids into translucent pipes. One bursts, splattering your cheek with liquid that tastes of mint and mausoleum air. In 1911, a Swiss watchmaker bred silk moths that excreted gear oil. This biological engineering puts Rolex to shame. The tower shudders, gears slipping. Mantle-like growths encrust the ceiling, spores puffing with each mechanical hiccup. Breathe in. Your lungs fill with visions, moths eclipsing suns, their wings setting planetary orbits. Blink. The spores now litter the floor, crunching like powdered sugar underfoot. Aztecs tracked time via hummingbird migrations. This method feels stickier. A spiral staircase corkscrews upward, steps narrowing into razored chitin. Ascend. The air sweetens, cloying enough to glaze your teeth. Triple-paned windows reveal constellations rewritten Cassiopeia, reshaped as an hourglass. Your shadow stretches distorted by the glass. It waves. You don't wave back. The apex, a vaulted chamber housing the mainspring's heart. Ribs of petrified would brace a diaphragm pumping ichor through quartz veins. Place your palm on the membrane. It pulses once, and your brainstem floods with someone else's twilight dreams. 8 furlongs west of Stonehenge, farmers found a Bronze Age honeycomb hive, still oozing after millennia. This heartbeat could outlast continents. Chimes crescendo. The chamber leaks nectar from every joint, drowning your ankles in liquid that hums lullabies. Submerge your hands. The fluid parts, revealing a sunken bell clapper shaped like a human spine. Grab it. The tower screams, gears locking. Your molars ache, that phantom vibration, now a jackhammer requiem. Retreat downward, steps disintegrating as you descend. A moth, the size of a tombstone, blocks the exit, its antennae sparking. Duck. It dissolves, leaving only a powder that smells of burnt piano wires. The Henline clockmakers were hired to build mechanized funeral biers. This feels like over-engineering. Burst into moonlit air. The tower's pulse fades, replaced by cricket song. Check your pockets. Sticky residues. No, they're moving. Larval threads weave through the fabric, spinning sleeves into cocoons. Shake them loose. The silken strands float, winding into the darkness behind you. Your shadow examines its hands, fingers now jointed like insect legs. It shrugs, an eloquent commentary on curiosity's consequences. The tower shrinks, its silhouette folding into a speck of bioluminescent dust. Blink. Gone. Only a stain on your tongue, sweet and metallic, hints it wasn't sleep deprivation. The moon dips. Your soles leave honeyed prints that fade before dawn. Somewhere, or someone, a gear clicks into place. You taste chrysalis nectar for days. Your soles squelch, still tacky with tower nectar, as crooked roots rise to meet them. The earth puckers, buried membranes thrumming through your arches. 17 paces ahead, gnarled wood fuses with lyre frames, their strings wound from root hairs and spider silk. Archaeologists unearthed the oldest lyre in Ur's royal tombs. This orchestra is far older. Kneel. The nearest instrument pulses, its pegs twisting like vertebrae. Pluck a string. The note lingers lower than hearing until your diaphragm buzzes in sympathy. A root snakes around your wrist, not restraining, just attentive. In 1989, a mycologist claimed oak forests hum G minor during thunderstorms. This chord defies notation. The ground sighs. Air shudders up, lifting your hair like invisible fingers through harp strings. Shadows ripple, revealing lyres beneath every tree, each wound with different tension. Step toward a silver-strung one. The roots tighten, blocking access. Historians still argue whether ancient earth priests played lullabies or war anthems on these things. Your molars vote lullaby. A root tip brushes your earlobe. Cold. The vibration begins in your jaw, spiraling down your throat into sternum. Your ribs resonate, playing you like a diddly bow. 11 heartbeats sink to the drone. Underground, something massive shifts, a continental shelf yawning. Fungus blooms around your ankles, bioluminescent spores spelling sheet music. Tilt your head. The glyphs resolve into a melody, a 4-note ostinato that smells of wet clay. Step back. Mycelial threads cling, threading your shoelaces into the score. German beekeepers once grafted hives onto cellos to harmonize honey. This collaboration feels less voluntary. The bass note deepens. Your vision blurs, edges vibrating like plucked strings. Stone lichen shifts, revealing fossils of hands still strumming petrified lyres. Reach to touch. The limestone crumbles, releasing a chord that reeks of Permian extinction. 17th century scholars believed earthquakes were underground orchestras tuning up. Maybe they weren't metaphors. Kneel again, compelled, roots knot around your knees, anchoring you to the trembling soil. A lyre's spider silk string snaps, the recoil lashing your cheek. Blood beads, each droplet humming midair before rejoining your skin. In 1967, a French farmer grafted grapevines to a grand piano. His wine reportedly caused auditory hallucinations. The melody fractures. Sharps become flats, the dissonance curdling your saliva. Roots constrict your sternum, now a soundboard for rhythmic throbs. A buried lyre detunes, its pegs unscrewing into centipedes that race up your thighs. Biologists confirm tree roots transmit warning signals through fungal networks. These roots are screaming. You exhale forcefully, rupturing the rhythm. The earth gasps, a vacuum pulling air through lyre strings into a glass-shattering shriek. Collapse sideways. Roots cushion your fall, their grip loosening to an apologetic caress. Aztec death whistles mimicked human screams using ceramic chambers. This is nature's rebuttal. Silence. Then, a single pure tone wells up, subsonic, ancient, irrefutable. Your fillings tingle. The roots shiver, retracting into the soil like punished tentacles. Stand on trembling legs. 17 lyres glint untouched, as if daring you to try again. A pebble taps your shoe, propelled by a subterranean tremor. It rolls toward a lyre fashioned from mammoth ivory and braided magnets. Approach. The strings twitch, tuning themselves to a frequency that warps your watch hands. Medieval Minnesänger, legends spoke of lyres that stole singers' voices. This one covets chronometers. The ground purrs, a sound felt rather than heard. Vines snake over your feet, stitching you into the loam. Resist. They retreat, but leave chlorophyll stains blooming across your toes. In 2001, Kyoto researchers played Mozart to shiitake mushrooms. The fungi grew fatter, but refused to fruit. Moonlight shifts. Lyre shadows creep, forming a stave across your body. Breathe in. The air tastes of rosin and rust. A root brushes your palm, offering a resinous pick shaped like a femur. Decline. It wilts disappointed. Your spine tingles, that primordial bass note returning as a canopy's whisper. Close your eyes. The roots resume their symphony, softer now, their vibrations massaging bruised capillaries. A distant oak groans, adjusting its pitch to match your sigh. Dawn bleeds through the trees. The lyres sink, strings dissolving into morning mist. Flex your toes. Soil cascades, revealing toe bones fused with rootlets. Shake them. The earth relinquishes its claim for now. Your shadow stretches, newly elongated and slightly fibrous. It plucks a dandelion stem, producing a note that attracts exhausted bumblebees. Walk away. The hum fades, but your Achilles tendons vibrate for hours, walking you into the next nightmare. The air still hums in your tendons as you stumble into amber-lit caverns, hexagonal cells stretching ceilingward like a goth aquarium. Honey drips, slow and deliberate, each droplet capturing a muffled syllable mid-fall. Lean closer. The comb thrums, its wax walls vibrating with the bass line of trapped conversations. A bee the size your thumb crawls over your knuckle, its fur powdered with pollen from extinct flowers. It pauses, antennae quivering, before regurgitating a golden bead into your palm. Taste it. The honey floods your mouth with a woman's laughter, her joy dissolving into the salt of unshed tears. Beekeepers in ancient saddle-huruk painted hives with crescent moons, the same symbol etched above this archway. Your shadow stretches, thinning across the comb, and a dozen cells pulse in unison. Press your ear to the wax. Whispers spill out, a cocktail party of dead monarchs and drowned sailors. One voice rises clear as cut glass. I shouldn't have buried the child there. The honey sours. Spit it out. The puddle shrieks as it hits the floor, the scream cut short by a bee's jagged dive to lap it up. Follow the murmurs. The comb warps cells swelling into chapels, each housing a suspended figure in golden resin. A knight mid-prayer. A laundress wringing phantom sheets. Their lips move, feeding the hive's endless buzz. Historians still argue whether Delphi's priestesses used hive fumes or mere laurel leaves, tossy futures. These bees vote for hallucinogens. A drone lands on your collar, its wings embossed with tiny portraits. Blow gently. It spirals, revealing Cleopatra's profile on one wing, Napoleon's on the reverse. The comb nearby drips faster, honey pooling into a hand mirror's shape. Peer in. Your reflection mouths words you've never spoken in a dialect that crackles like burning papyrus. Step back. Wax creaks underfoot, your bootprint oozing voices. Look away, it gurgles. You weren't meant to. The sentence drowns in a fresh honeyfall. Above, a queen bee emerges, her abdomen translucent with stored sound waves. She pulses, releasing a baritone chuckle that shakes pollen from the walls. Pluck a cell. The wax crumbles, unleashing a tempest of glass-breaking sopranos and drunken sea shanties. Cover your ears. Too late, the noise curdles into a lullaby your wet nurse sang. Or did she? A 1940s ad man once marketed Echo Honey as a memory enhancer, his clients reported, recalling strangers' childhoods. The queen dive bombs your head, her wing beats spelling leave in Morse code. Duck, she rams a cell, releasing a thunderclap of opera notes. The honey sizzles, etching sheet music into your retinas. Hum a bar. The comb shudders, cells reshuffling into a spiral staircase. Climb. The third step melts, dropping you into a pit of half-digested whispers. Bees swarm your ankles, not stinging, just herding you toward a dripping archway. Their bodies form arrows. Their buzz harmonizes into a warning, feed or flee. You choose neither. Rip a wax sheet from the wall. The revealed cavity exhales, a breath smelling of frankincense and gunpowder. Inside, a throne of crystallized honey, cracked and webbed with hairline fractures. Sit. The comb stitches itself around your hips, anchoring you as voices flood your sinuses. A general dictating surrender terms. A poet mid-couplet. A mother singing through smoke. The throne softens its arms, embracing you like a forgotten habit. The queen lands on your brow, her legs kneading your temple. Submit, and let the hive drink the battle hymns stuck in your molars since Verdun. resist, and risk rupturing the comb's fragile acoustics. You hum instead, off-key and defiant. The bees freeze, their buzz faltering into static. Wax tears, revealing a crawl space too symmetrical to be natural. The hum in your tendons surges, urging you forward. Army crawl through honey-slick tunnels, the walls palpitating with muffled jazz solos. Ahead daylight. The exit framed by thorns, each spike barbed with frozen hums from Hitler's bunker. Squeeze through. Thorns snag your sleeve, implanting a discordant cord under your skin. You emerge sticky and buzzing as the hive seals shut behind you. The queen's final drone delivers a parting gift, a honey capsule glued to your nape. Squish it. A woman's voice whispers the exact coordinates where you'll die. Bees swarm a nearby corpse flower, their flight path spelling out obscene Latin. Wipe honey from your eyelashes. The taste lingers, whiskey and widow's perfume. Your pockets sag, filled with wax pellets that weep lullabies when squeezed. The sun dips its light, catching the queen's silhouette in the cave mouth. She raises two spindly legs and flips you off. A drone spirals into your open mouth. Swallow, and somewhere, a librarian gasps as your DNA invades her index card memory. Walk. Your footsteps crunch each heel strike, releasing a bar of Bach played backwards. The hive's hum fades, but your molars ache with unborn buzzwords. A thorn pricks your thumb, its tip oozing honey, and Verdi's Ninth Symphony. Suck the wound. The strings swell, filling your skull until thought becomes vibration. You exhale middle C, startling a murder of crows into atonal flight. Their caws form a perfect cadence, the last note hanging like an abandoned chrysalis. The honey-stiffened air thins, giving way to a precipice where moonlight glazes countless serpent skins. Their scales interlock, forming a bridge narrower than your shrugged-off regrets. Roman engineers once laid roads that outlived empires, their secret volcanic ash mortar mirroring these snakes' eternal mold. Step onto the first scale. It yields silent as papyrus crumbling in a pharaoh's tomb. Your soles recognize the texture, that oil-slick resilience of armadillo leather, marketed in 1920s explorer catalogs. Each subsequent scale warms, radiating remembered sunlight from when these snakes still had spines. The abyss below breathes, a damp updraft carrying whispers of the pharaoh's lighthouse's final collapse. Historians still argue whether its fire was extinguished by earthquake or the jealous sea itself. Don't look down. Your left heel skids, kicking loose a scale that plummets without sound. Midway, the bridge narrows. Scales here jut upward, razor edges snagging your sleeve. A threadbare patch reveals itself, your grandmother's, initials embroidered in lichen green thread. You never noticed that. 3 scales ahead, a sigil glows, the Mesopotamian symbol for betrayal, fused with a cartoonish snake wearing sunglasses. Laughter bubbles in your throat, stifled as the bridge sways. Your shadow stretches sideways, impaled on stalactites. The 1st century Silk Road had camel hair bridges, quivering spans that sang during sandstorms. This one hums, a tuneless rendition of Come On Eileen that rattles your molars. Left foot slips. Catch yourself, palm grinding into a scale's keeled edge. It blazes, releasing a puff of saffron-scented dust. Byzantine brides wore viper skin garters to ensure fertile marriages, a fact you'll awkwardly share at parties now. The final stretch arches upward, scales polished smooth by non-existent foot traffic. A lone kestrel carcass decomposes midair, its wingspan preserved in a spiderweb's cathedral. Your right knee creaks, protesting the climb. 17 steps left. 16. 15. A scale detaches, clattering against others in a percussive cascade. The abyss inhales sharply. Sprint the bridge dissolving behind you like sugar in vinegar. Dive for the ledge. Fingernails gouge stone as the last scale flips, revealing an embossed, made in El Dorado stamp. Roll onto solid ground. The chasm quiets, its appetite delayed, not sated. Your pockets jingle, now holding 3 obsidian dice carved with serpent eyes. Shake them. They land showing Julius Caesar's autopsy report in gummy runes. Behind the bridge reconstitutes. Scales ripple, reforming into a grinning Ouroboros. Its tail flicks, tossing up a scrap of parchment. Catch it. The message. You forgot your keys. Your laugh echoes, a sound the abyss stores for future hungers. Dawn pinks the horizon. The dice melt, coating your palm in something between mercury and regret. Wipe it on your thigh. The stain sings lullabies in a language lost when Pompeii's doves turn to ash. Walk. The path ahead smells of burnt time and someone else's nostalgia. Miles back, a single scale glitters, a sly wink against the gathering light. Your boots scuff stone, striking sparks that reveal walls papered with burned manuscripts. The air smells like wet parchment and a 3rd-grade science fair volcano. Ahead, a mahogany desk older than the Gregorian calendar. Its inkwell bubbles, black as a priest's socks. A raven quill stirs, dipping itself without touching. Each scratch etches your inhalations into iambic pentameter. Breathe faster. The desk seems to suggest your stanza about a sneeze gets uncomfortably intimate. Historians still argue whether Shakespeare composed sonnets vertically, quill in one hand, chamber pot in the other. And blotting paper hangs suspended, its chainmail texture lifted from 14th century armor. Press it to the page. Sentences hemorrhage smoke letters that spiral upward, spelling TLDR in Middle English. The ink, iron gall, same recipe Egyptians used for love curses. Rub your eyes. The soot smears into raccoon circles that'll take 3 makeup wipes to remove tomorrow. Drawers rattle open. One spills parchment scraps, shopping lists from Atlantis, a sketch of Socrates pole vaulting. Another coughs up a vial labeled "Don't unscrew it." The scent hits equal parts burnt caramel and medieval monastery cellar. Monks once brewed ink from fermented urine, and oak apples. You gag, resisting the urge to text this fun fact to your therapist. The quill revolts, scratching out your heartbeat as free verse. Words bleed through the desk, pooling into a puddle that reflects your third-grade face. That haircut, that neon fanny pack, the puddle hardens, a frozen pond where your 7-year-old self waves through ice. Step back. A ledger materializes, columns tracking every time you bit your tongue instead of speaking. The math condemns you. Tear the page. Shredded numbers swarm, forming a locust cloud that chews the cuffs off your jeans. Vintage distress, very on brand. The inkwell overflows. Black ooze creeps toward a stack of unwritten birthdays. Remember Cleopatra's scribes used crocodile dung as correction fluid. You improvise a dam with a paperclip and half a stick of gum. It holds barely. Moonlight slicks the desk, revealing carvings of Mesopotamian accountants flipping abacuses. Their stone eyes follow as you pocket a dried ink blob. It vibrates, Morse coding dirty limericks against your thigh. The quill snaps, impaling a moth mid-flight. Wings flutter into the well, rewriting your next exhale as a villanelle about student debt. Blot again. The smoke coalesces, a floating diorama of Versailles gardening staff laughing at Marie Antoinette. Their mime voices mouth. Hydrangeas need better drainage. Your laugh startles the quill. It capsizes the inkwell. Black tide surges, drowning the desk, your shoes. That embarrassing puddle portrait. Surface gasping. The study's gone, replaced by a linen closet scented with lavender and existential dread. A single parchment drifts down. Its freshly inked header reads, Chapter 23. Why you check the lock twice. Fold it into a hat. Put it on. The brim whispers forbidden library coordinates in Pig Latin. Dawn leaks through threadbare sheets, projecting a flickering zoetrope onto the wall. Your shadow bows, its encore delayed by a sneeze that rhymes with disestablishmentarianism. The ink stain on your palm winks, now smelling suspiciously of cheap Merlot and second chances. Pollen drifts, golden motes colliding in midair like drunk fireflies. Your eyelids crust with each blink, nature's glitter glue, but less Instagrammable. The greenhouse arches above glass panes, warped into funhouse mirrors that stretch your shadow into a giraffe-neck specter. Jasmine vines coil around your wrist, scenting the air with Cleopatra's signature perfume. Yes, the same saffron and lotus blend that bankrupted 3 Nile barges for a single banquet. You sneeze. A daisy snaps its petals shut, botanical judgment for poor allergy preparedness. Every bloom here watches. Tulips pivot on creaky stems, their black centers swallowing moonlight like Vanta Black. A peony yawns, revealing teeth sharper than your ex's passive-aggressive Thanksgiving texts. You step over a root. It flinches, exposing a plaque engraved, No Stepping on Siblings. Historians still argue whether Medusa's roses were flora or fauna. Do petals count as scales? You lean closer. The nearest rose hisses, a prickly pear rolling down your spine. Lavender stalks shiver, spilling pollen that rewrites your sweat into hieroglyphic deodorant. Nightshade mutters a voice like wind through cemetery grass. The carnations nod, symposium scholars debating your worthiness. Your pocket vibrates. That stolen ink blob pulses, Morse coding. Don't trust the DAFFODILS. Too late, a daffodil unfurls, its trumpet blaring a note that liquefies your knees. You collapse into a cushion of moss. It sighs, releasing spores that taste like your kindergarten teacher's peppermints. Victorian doctors prescribed flower sniffing for hysteria. You get it now. The moon shifts. Beams ignite floating dandelion seeds, each one a tiny supernova. Catch one. It dissolves, leaving a sticky residue, and the overwhelming urge to write bad poetry. Your ink-stained palm tingles. The residue spells pass in glowing nematode script. A thorn snags your sleeve, dragging you toward a wrought iron arch choked with ivy. Beyond it, a sundial garden where shadows pool like spilled ink. Roses twitch their petals, peeling back to reveal papyrus scrolls. Instructions, recipes, unpaid florist invoices. A honeybee the size of a thumbtack lands on your nose. It's wearing armor. Tiny chainmail gleams, each link forged from starlight and pettiness. Pollen tacks, it drones. You offer a crumbled Ritz cracker. The bee salutes, flying off to audit the hydrangeas. Your foot sinks into soil, warm as fresh bread dough. Fingers brush something smooth. Pull. Up comes a clay pot stamped with Anubis's jackal grin, still slightly damp. Inside, a single lotus bulb. Crush it. The scent floods your sinuses like a Benihana onion volcano. Egyptian priests supposedly brewed this into dream tea, though most scholars think they just hated sobriety. A vine whips past, snatching the pot. The greenhouse groans, glass rattling like a subway grate. Petals detach midair, shurikens aimed at your shoelaces. Dodge. Too slow. Laces sever striped casualties of floral warfare. Barefoot now. Moss squelches between your toes, clearly judging your pedicure. A pebble jabs your arch. You kick it. It arcs into a fountain where stone carp leap to catch it. Their marble jaws clack applause from the aquatic peanut gallery. The ink blob sears your thigh. You yank it out, its surface flashing Morse warnings. Too late. The sundial's shadow creeps razor thin, slicing through rose stems. They scream. Pitch drips, thick as regret. Wipe it. Your hand comes away stained like you finger-painted with espresso. Ahead, a topiary labyrinth trimmed into sleep paralysis demons. Their leafy claws beckon. The bee zooms past, dropping a reed pen into your palm. It's warm and vibrating and humming. Total eclipse of the heart, off-key. You eye the nearest topiary. It winks. Sweat beads. The air curdles, scent shifting from jasmine to wet dog and existential ennui. Remember Cleopatra once sent Caesar a bouquet laced with beetle venom. Was that a threat? A flirt? Ancient Egyptian, mixed signals. You press onward, each step squashing bioluminescent mushrooms that scream in C-sharp. A marigold flares its center, morphing into a micro IMAX screen. Grainy footage plays Napoleon sneezing into Josephine's lilies. The flowers recoil. He scowls, eternal allergy sufferer. You snort. The marigold snaps shut, taking your laugh captive. Silence falls thick as greenhouse humidity. Sudden cold. Breath plumes, something's wrong. Frost patterns bloom across the glass. Rorschach tests only penguins could solve. Vines stiffen, icicles daggering downward. The ink blob melts, pooling into a puddle that reflects not your face, but a keyhole. Kneel. The reflection shatters. Under shards, a trapdoor. Frozen hinges protest as you pry it open. Below, stone steps descending into humid dark. The last daisy leans, petals grazing your earlobe. They're all down there, it whispers, voice cracking like a teenage orchid. You glance back. The greenhouse holds its breath, every pistol aimed at your spine. Clockwork ticks loud as a jawbone cracking walnuts. One step, two, the trapdoor slams, plunging you into air that smells of wet stone and discarded potential. Your bare soles meet stone. The trapped air here tastes like the inside of a grandfather clock. Moonlight filters through cracks above, not real moonlight, but whatever passes for it. In this subterranean theater, the sundial waits, a bronze disc balanced on a plinth of knuckle bones. Its needle glows faintly, a compass for shadows. No sun, yet your silhouette stretches across the ground, thin as vapor. Each step stretches it thinner. Left leg dissolving into mist near a pile of sundial-branded hourglasses. Modern ones drip digital numbers. Antique ones spill sand, whispering old Norse swear words. You pause. The shadow mimes your hesitation, arms raised like a sleepwalker asking, "Why me?" A plaque sprouts from the floor, engraved with symbols resembling half-formed Roman numerals. Touch it. The metal's warm, stored daylight, maybe. Nero supposedly installed Rome's first bronze sundial to shame senators who napped through meetings. Historians still argue whether the engravings were timestamps or passive-aggressive doodles of tardy politicians. The nearest hourglass coughs. Sand reshapes mid-fall, forming a tiny Stonehenge. Cute, you mutter. The shadow copies your mouth movements, a half-second delay. Creepy. Your own personal pantomime villain, a 16th century Swiss horologist, once claimed sundial shadows could be trained to perform shadow puppet plays. He died mid-bow during a sold-out show for frogs. Your shadow peels free, slithering up the sundial's face. Its fingers pry at the gnomon. Bronze squeals. The needle twists, pointing to VII. A shudder runs through the chamber. Below the sundial, a circular door etched with zodiac signs spins open. Cold wafts up, smelling of February mornings and untied shoelaces. You approach. The shadow plummets, reforming at your feet. It tugs you toward the hole. Subtle, you say. 3 arrows made of lichen point downward. Because when subterranean flora gives directions, you listen, even if their advice smells like wet dog and ennui. Descend. Stairs spiral each step, exuding the cheery vibe of an abandoned dental office. Frost nips your ankles. Hyphenated carvings line the walls, probably warnings, maybe poetry, definitely not Yelp reviews. Your shadow stretches ahead, now imitating a giraffe on stilts. A faint ticking escalates, the sundial's heartbeat, or your molars mashing stress into enamel dust. The void below brightens, blueprint blue. Your shadow freezes, then shatters into silhouettes of strangers. A Victorian lady adjusting her hat, a samurai mid-bow, a disco dancer mid-twirl. Their shadows liquefy, merging into a puddle at your feet. You announce, "I've had weirder Tinder dates." The chamber opens a cavern where stalactites drip liquid shadow. Each droplet hits the ground as a whispered hour. 2 a.m. hisses one. 4:37 p.m. croaks another, a jet-lagged raven trapped in quartz. Catch one. It bursts, coating your palm with the greasy residue of a decade-old New Year's resolution. Ahead, a stone table holds tools, a chisel carved from a narwhal tusk, an hourglass filled with magnetized mercury, a prehistoric alarm clock shaped like a screaming axolotl. A plaque reads, "Repair time." Someone's scrawled, or else. In lichen, you pocket the axolotl. It vibrates faintly, the organic Fitbit of doom. The sundial's shadow seeps in, riding a sunbeam that shouldn't exist here. It crawls up the wall, spelling CHICXULUB in Cretaceous pollen. You flinch, half expecting a dinosaur hologram. Instead, the letters rearrange. Chill LOL. Har har. Someone installed antique dad humor into the space-time continuum. A shadow tendril loops around your wrist, gentle as a nurse taking blood pressure. It tugs. You stumble into a tunnel lined with clocks, all broken. Cuckoo clocks minus cuckoos. Digital displays flashing. Ionia Lane, 1987. A sundial growing moss over its noon marker. The air smells of stopped pendulums and lost potential. The tunnel dead ends at a wall. Your shadow slaps the stone once, twice. Cracks bloom. Daylight bursts through real daylight. Salt air stings your nostrils. You're standing at the edge of a cliff, ocean below. Horizons smudged with what might be a coastline or a dreamer's lazy brushstroke. The axolotl clock screams. The axolotl scream splinters the air, a sound halfway between a tea kettle and a toddler denied candy. Salt wind snatches the noise, carrying it out to see where waves devour echoes. Before you, the cliff's edge crumbles, revealing a door. Just a door. No frame. No walls. Just hinges floating in void mist, swinging ever so slightly. Ajar. You kneel. Splinters of ancient wood dig into your palm, cedar, maybe stained with centuries of fingerprints. Mediterranean shipbuilders used cedar for hulls, believing its scent warded off sea monsters. This door smells of mothballs and cherry cough drops. A 13th century Venetian text described portals that could only be unlocked by exhaling the alphabet backward. You try the letter. The door creaks, mocking you. Your shadow oozes under the gap beneath the door. Gone. No loyal silhouette now, just you and this stupid, impossible threshold. You press your ear to the wood. Distant snoring. Or maybe tectonic plates grinding their teeth. The axolotl clock vibrates in your pocket, silent now, but radiating judgment. One push. The door swings inward, revealing nothing. Not darkness, not light, not even that existential gray airports use for carpeting. Just absence. You chuck a pebble through. It vanishes mid-arc, no splash, no clatter. Fantastic, you mutter. Airbnb canceled my reservation again. A breeze tugs your sleeve, gentle but insistent. You step through. Cold slithers up your ankles. The door slams shut behind you, dissolving into smoke that spells good night in cursive. Cheeky. Air thickens, syrupy and warm, like breathing through a wool scarf soaked in lavender oil. Your knees buckle, not from exhaustion, but from the sudden realization that gravity here has a PhD in persuasion. You sprawl on something, not ground, not a floor, just the concept of horizontality made tactile. Lights flicker, a constellation of drowsy fireflies arranging themselves into familiar shapes. A bed, a pillow, a blanket stitched from blackout curtains and cloud fluff. Historians still argue whether the ancient chamber of repose in Alexandria was a sleep lab or a very fancy nap room. This feels like both and neither. The axolotl clock crawls from your pocket, wiggling into the pillow's folds. It glows faintly bioluminescent freckles, spelling sweet dreams in amphibian Morse code. You poke it. It croaks, a sound that vibrates through your molars. Unknotting jaw tension you forgot you had. Shadows return not yours, but a patchwork of silhouettes. A cowboy tipping his hat. A ballerina mid-pirouette. They merge into a shape resembling your third-grade teacher, the one who let you nap during math. She tucks the blanket over you. Her hands smell of chalk dust and melatonin gummies. Weightlessness takes over. You float, not falling, not rising, just existing perpendicular to exhaustion. The fireflies dim. Someone hums a lullaby you last heard in a womb. Your toes uncurl. Eyelids droop. A distant voice may be yours, maybe the door's whispers, finally. Sleep isn't a wave here. It's a precision-engineered souffle. Light, inevitable. The axolotl's heartbeat syncs with yours. 3 slow thumps. Then silence. The loom's heartbeat thrums through the floorboards. A metronome older than sundials. You step into a room where threads hang like jungle vines, each strand glowing faintly. One brushes your ear, singing a sea hash in a language only spiders understand. The tapestry sprawls across the far wall, a chaos of constellations and serpentine twists. Medusa's roses bloom here too, pollen replaced by pulsing thread knots. Half the scene's unfinished edges fraying into threads that twitch like cat whiskers. The Bayeux tapestries got nothing on this, though that medieval scrap did popularize the comet as bad omen trope. Here, comets are just stray thread ends curling into question marks. Your breath stirs the nearest filament. A ripple tears through the woven stars, Venus unraveling into a scribble. You freeze. The threads settle. But Venus remains a frowny-faced doodle. Experts think some medieval weavers soaked yarn in opium-infused dyes, quieting rowdy nobles during castle renovations. This fabric needs no drugs. Its unfinished seems murmur louder than a caffeine crash. A patch of snakeskin shimmers unwoven. You swear it winks. Touch it, and the vipers might curl grandma's knitting sweaters. Touch it, and the whole damn timeline stitches your name into Alexander the Great's tax records. You jam hands into pockets. The axolotl clock peeks out, glowing in time with the loom's clicks. Its tail flicks, knocking a loose thread. The tapestry gasps. Herodotus's face materializes, mouth sewn shut, before dissolving into cross-stitched sheep. Historians still argue whether the Greeks stole tapestry techniques from the Scythians, or just had a killer marketing team. You back away. A thread sticks to your elbow, dragging a half-formed unicorn behind you. It whinnies silently, shedding glitter that becomes midges. The axolotl snaps them up, gills vibrating with petty satisfaction. A breeze sweeps through, carrying the scent of melted beeswax. The tapestry billows, revealing its backside. Knots here form glyphs, each a lawsuit from the universe's first copyright troll. You glimpse the phrase cease and desist embroidered in owl feathers. The floor tilts. Threads retract, snipping the unicorn loose. It trots into a nebula-shaped hole in reality, tail held high. The loom's tempo slows, drowsy now. Even Medusa's roses sag, petals furl like yawns. 3 threads snap in unison, puppeteering shadows into a pointing hand. It gestures to an archway woven from discarded patterns. Beyond, muffled snoring. Your calves itch to sprint. The axolotl hisses, a sound like Velcro divorcing, as the tapestry begins to know. You walk, slowly, because running would mean owing the universe another awkward favor. Threads part like gruff bouncers. You're halfway through the arch when a voice hums, threadbare and genderless. Next time, it rasps. Bring better scissors. The archway cinches shut behind you, leaving a single thread curled around your pinky. It tastes like burnt toast and stage fright. You pocket it. The axolotl sneezes confetti. Ash drifts like black snow, each flake a crumpled musical note. You catch one. It stings your palm before dissolving into a bass hum. The ground smolders with bonfires fed by parchment sheets. Every blaze exhales a different harmony. 3rd century hymns burn brightest. Their flames dance the Phrygian mode popular in Byzantine choirs. The oldest surviving melody, the Seikilo's epitaph, gutters weakly in a bronze brazier. Its stone slab reads, "Shine while you live." Though right now it's rocking more of a whimper, while you smolder vibe. You crouch near a fire made from Gregorian chant fragments. The heat's a tease, warmth fades, before it reaches your skin. An ember floats up, resembling Cleopatra's profile, for 3 glorious seconds, then mutates into a duck. Fun fact, you mutter. Antony probably gifted her a perfume that repelled mosquitoes, not roses. The axolotl clock palms an ember licks it. Its gills flare neon. Tastes like tax audits, it croaks. Medieval monks swore certain chants could bake bread mid-performance. The loaf never materializes, though the air smells vaguely of burnt sourdough. A column of ash spirals up, forming sheet music. You hum the first measure. The notes cling like cobwebs, your voice dropping 2 octaves mid-syllable. A bass rumble shakes your molars. The axolotl burps a perfect middle C. 18th century composers used catgut strings, you note. This feels more like rabbit hedgehog intestines. Wind reshapes the nearest pyre. Flames now resemble a distorted lyre. Touch it, and you'll earn calluses that play their own discordant tune. Touch it, and your Spotify Wrapped becomes 100% Mongolian throat-singing covers of Celine Dion. You poke the fire with a charred stick. Sparks erupt, arranging into a choreographed Busby Berkeley routine. Historians still argue whether Nero actually fiddled during Rome's burning or just practiced aggressive lute maintenance. The axolotl sneezes, launching a burning scrap toward your sleeve. You dodge. The parchment lands in a puddle of melted wax, screaming a high G until it drowns. Lyrics surface briefly, and the void shall cradle thee. You pocket the wax. DIY candle idea. Existential dread vanilla. A cold spot forms behind you. Turning reveals a fire extinguished mid-chorus. Its ashes spell lyre in cuneiform. Your breath disrupts the letters. They recoil into a sad, little smiley face. Apollo's choir boys used lead vocals, mutters a dying ember, hence the whole God of Music gig. The largest bonfire crackles with Vatican manuscripts, flames papal red. It croons a lullaby band in 15th century Spain for causing unholy drowsiness. You yawn on cue. The fire dims, pleased with itself. Embers settle into snores. Walking toward a pyramid of burning hymnals, you spot something flickering inside. A stained glass window's remains. No, just Nero's ghost trying to roast marshmallows. He offers one. You decline. The axolotl steals his stick. An ash cloud descends, each particle vibrating at nightmare frequency. You cough. The cloud retreats embarrassed. 3 fires merge, birthing a baby tornado that plays Greensleeves via debris collisions. It's charming until the F-sharp section starts lobbing hot coals. The axolotl yawns, a sound like a broken kazoo. Its tail ignites a low-burning pile of Mozartean minuets. The resulting smoke smells like a teenager's first cologne. You spot a half-melted hourglass in the ashes, sand frozen mid-fall. Tap it. The grains collapse, whispering a cadence identical to your heartbeat. Your pupils dilate. The world contracts. A cold hand, ash-maid, grips your shoulder. Encore rasps the bonfires in unison. The axolotl swallows an entire flame, burps out handles Messiah. The hand retreats singed. Retreating, you step on a burning madrigal. It yelps. The path ahead shimmers, not with heat, but with the absence of sound. Each footfall mutes the nearest fire's song. Behind you, the hymns flare louder. Pleading, angry, you break into a jog. The axolotl chitters, clinging to your collar. A bridge materializes, charred wood groaning a funeral dirge. Mid-crossing, a plank snaps. Your foot plunges through into frigid water below. The dunked ankle emerges dry, but humming a sea shanty in reverse. The far banks cloaked in ash moths. They part as you approach, revealing a stone door etched with clefts. No handle, no keyhole, just a mouth-shaped crack at eye level. The axolotl vomits a G-flat. The door shutters opens. Cool air rushes out, smelling of piano-weight felt and forgotten lullabies. You glance back. The bonfires wave goodbye with licks of purple flame. Their music fades, except for one stubborn hymn. It follows you inside, then evaporates with a pop. The axolotl sneezes. Your ears ring with phantom choirs. A popcorn kernel of guilt lodges in your throat. Should grabbed that marshmallow after all. Water laps at your ankles, chilly as forgotten church marble. The cistern stretches into blackness, its ceiling propped up by drowned columns. Your reflection wavers, then fractures into 100 foreign faces. A Byzantine empress blinks through your eyes. A Nubian merchant's scarred cheek overlaps your jawline. Multitasking, you mutter. Very 7th century chic. The axolotl dives in ripples, distorting the water into funhouse mirrors. Your face becomes a mosaic of strangers, each stare weighted with unspoken thirst. Emperor Justinian's engineers built similar reservoirs, 98-foot ceilings, to dwarf Constantinople's crowds. Here, the scale feels personal, intimate, like drowning in a crowded elevator. You cup liquid mirror, a dozen lips press against your palms. Swallow. Thirst blooms in your esophagus, 100 parched tongues sanding your throat raw. The axolotl belches, tastes like borrowed regret. A Han Dynasty burial mirror surfaces, briefly tarnished bronze, designed to scare off corpse-eating spirits. Modern replicas sell on Etsy as soul-proof vanity sets. Leaning closer, you spot a face you recognize. 3rd-grade teacher. Distant cousin. No, just your own features rearranged by ripples. A droplet hits the surface. The splash sings 2 overlapping notes, Phrygian and Lydian modes, warring for dominance. Historians still argue whether Roman aqueduct engineers doubled as clandestine choir directors. The evidence: suspiciously acoustic sedimentation patterns. Your toe nudges a submerged urn. It tips, spilling liquid mirror across the cistern floor. Reflections flood upward, drenching the ceiling in upside-down deserts, inverted oceans. A woman's face forms in the deluge, mouth stretched wide enough to swallow oases. You step back. The axolotl scribbles equations on damp stone, calculating reflection angles or grocery lists. Hard to tell, cold seeps into your bones. Teeth chatter Morse code, SOS, or the rhythm of Nero's post-fire renovation permits. A stone arch looms ahead, carved with anchor symbols stolen from Phoenician ships. Touch it. The cistern groans, water draining to reveal mosaic tiles below. They depict a bull-headed man sipping from a skull. Brunch goals, apparently. The axolotl slips on wet tile, cartwheeling into a puddle. It emerges resembling a Rorschach test. Interpret me, it gurgles. You see a deflating balloon. It claims to see your future tax bracket. Residual thirst pulses behind your sternum. Second sip. The water trembles, offering Cleopatra's profile again. Her lips mouth words. Don't, hisses the axolotl. That's how you get pyramid scheme vibes. Too late. The liquid hits your tongue, salty as Ptolemaic tears. Your vision blurs. Countless hands press against your ribcage, begging liberation through your pores. A column cracks overhead. Dust rains down each particle, a miniature Rosetta Stone. You decipher one fleck. Moisturize daily. Practical advice for any immortal soul. The cistern refills, swift and silent. Reflections return, now including a medieval monk neck-deep in the water. He waves. You wave back. Time zones blur. Etiquette crumbles. Your soaked sleeve drips melodies, each plink a different folk song fragment. The axolotl conducts them into a dissonant symphony. 12th century banger, it declares. A face surfaces beside you, features shifting like a stormlit coastline. Its mouth opens. Out drifts a frog. A very confused frog. Light fractures through a high window, moonbeam sharp enough to slice silence. The cistern ripples gold. Thousands of upturned faces gasp, inhaling gilded air. You exhale. They mimic the motion, chests rising in eerie unison. The axolotl yawns. The water yawns back. Distant bells toll submerged. Sound warps into whale song. Your knees buckle. The cistern floor rises to meet you gentle as a dropped handkerchief. Reflections swarm. Their thirst fades. Yours lingers. A souvenir sharper than Roman glass. A stone step materializes. You climb. Water cascades off your clothes, each droplet containing a shrunken, screaming coliseum. The axolotl shakes itself dry. Next time, it croaks, maybe don't drink the airbimp holy water. You laugh, the sound splintering into a dozen languages against the cistern walls. One echoes back in your voice, mostly. Iron gates rise, rusted tendrils curling like scorched fiddleheads. A melody slithers through hinge gaps, minor key lullabies that raise arm hair. The axolotl taps your shin. Harmonize or become a doorstop, your funeral literally. You hum a nursery rhyme. The serpent song twists, notes sharpening into fang shapes that clatter against stone. One embeds near your ear. See, it hisses. The axolotl scribbles a failing grade in rust dust. Moonlight gilds the gate's grooves, revealing interlocking Ouroboros patterns. Vikings etched similar symbols on burial stones, dragons swallowing their tails to signify cyclical time. Here, the snakes seem hungry, unamused, unpaid interns of the underworld. A scale clinks underfoot, iridescent as Damascus steel. 9th century alchemists swore serpent skins could cure insomnia. Spoiler: they just gave you really vivid snake dreams. The axolotl pockets it. eBay gold, it whispers. The melody accelerates, a chromatic spiral tightening around your ribs. You cough up 2 sour notes. The nearest hinge groans. Rust flakes snow downward. One flake lands on your tongue, tastes like cassette tapes left in a '92 Honda. Inventive, sneers the gate. Voice like a viola played with a cheese grater. Truly, the dulcet tones of a drowning goose. The axolotl snorts, a derisive little blorp. A chord vibrates, resonating with your molar fillings. Cleopatra once charmed asp handlers with lyre concerts. Historians still argue whether those snakes were trained musicians or just tone-deaf security detail. You mimic her alleged favorite riff. Iron creaks, a hinge loosening its arthritic grasp. The song stumbles. The axolotl tosses a fistful of scales into the air improv percussion. Encore. Throw your back into it. Your next note cracks, glass shattering sharp. A gate panel collapses, rusted metal hitting earth with a gong-like bewooum. Dust swirls into shapes, miniature cobras dancing the Macarena. Festive, you deadpan. The axolotl high-fives a dust cobra. Stale air wafts through the gap, smelling of burnt myrrh and anxiety sweat. 3 more gates loom beyond, each decorated with thicker serpents. Their fused tails form staffs reminiscent of Asclepius's medical symbol. The irony isn't lost on you. The second gate shrieks before you sing, a preemptive strike of dissonant triads. Your fillings ache. Passive-aggressive much. The axolotl lobs a pebble. It ricochets off iron, playing hot cross buns in perfect pitch. Gate 2 relents grudgingly as your duet morphs into a sea shanty. Rust rains down in A minor. The axolotl mimes conducting an orchestra. Crank it to 11. Merch tables that way. Final gate. No visible hinges. Just interwoven metal vipers, frozen mid-strike. Their open mouths form jagged archways. You inhale. Hum the first song your sleep-deprived brain conjures. Baby shark. The serpent song chokes. Viper heads whip sideways, stone grinding against metal. A tooth dislodges, landing upright, like Excalibur's problematic cousin. The axolotl wheezes. Genius, annoy them into submission. The gate splits not along seams, but between 8th notes. A corridor stretches beyond walls, pulsating with bioluminescent scales. Each step triggers soft chimes. The axolotl waddles ahead. Tip your waitress. Try the veal. Behind you, fallen gate pieces reassemble into a giant anaconda shape. It flicks a forked tongue, repeating your baby shark motif in a contemptuous baritone. Guess we're headlining the underworld's open mic night. You sigh. The axolotl shrugs. Better than yet another Orpheus cover band. The corridor narrows, scales underfoot, dimming to a drowsy ultraviolet. Your shadow stretches, then snaps back, as if yanked by puppet strings. The axolotl pauses, snout twitching at a wall's flicker. We've hit the bibliography of bad decisions, it mutters. Ahead, pulsing amber light. Not fire, not bioluminescence, but something between heartbeats and lightning bugs. Books line arched niches, leather bindings swollen with secrets. Their covers breathe, literally. In, out like unmade beds sighing after nightmares. You touch one. The spine arches cat-like under your hand. Pages flutter open, revealing nothing. Blank vellum until your breath grazes it. Glyphs bloom, swirling like ink dropped in chamomile tea. The axolotl leans in, reads like my ex's breakup letter. All subtext, no substance. Ancient Alexandria's library burned for months, scrolls turning to ash snow over the Mediterranean. These tomes, worse than flammable, they drink light, gulping down your flashlight beam like a parched archaeologist at an oasis. You flick the switch again. Darkness yawns. Late fees here must be brutal, you whisper. A nearby volume slams shut, startling a moth from its pages. The insect zips off, trailing a comet tail of Sanskrit. Historians still argue whether Caesar accidentally torched Alexandria's stacks or just hated overdue notices. The axolotl pries open a folio. Pages lick its paws, leaving wet ink trails. Ah, the all tongue-in-cheek translation method. It peers at the smudges. Chapter 12. How to Disappoint Your Parents in 7 Dead Languages. Shelves spiral upward, disappearing into shadow. Each book's hum harmonizes with your tinnitus. You recognize the pitch, same frequency as a snowy TV channel. A leather-bound bestiary vibrates off its perch. You catch it midair. Bad move. The cover sinks teeth into your thumb. Not metaphorically. You shake it, a terrier with a mailman's pant leg. Let go. It does, dropping into a puddle of its own drool. The axolotl inspects your wound. Congrats, you've got paper cuts from hell. Light shifts. Pages glow warmer honey gold as midnight seeps through cracks in reality. You squint. Letters rearrange, forming words in your mother tongue. Still lost. A margin scribble taunts. You forgot to return the chia pet too. A scroll unfurls, grazing your elbow. Maps. Not of places, of sleep cycles. Contours show REM troughs and delta wave peaks. You trace the sea of spindles. Its ink shimmers under touch. 13th century, monks allegedly navigated dreamscapes with these charts. Results varied, mostly accidental naps during vespers. Found the self-help section, drawls the axolotl. It's knee-deep in a pop-up book, stone monoliths rising as it turns pages. One menhir topples, crushing a illustrated villager. Oops, should hired better henchmen. Your calf brushes a low shelf. 18 tiny Bibles skitter, splaying open to identical verses. And the meek shall inherit, bold red underlining, unless the raccoons revolt. Fringe theorists insist medieval marginalia predicted everything from Wi-Fi to zombie raccoon uprisings. Your money's on the raccoons. A draft stirs flipping pages like a poltergeist cramming for finals. Whispers coalesce, 100 librarians shushing in unison. The sound prickles your neck. You counter with a jazz scat, shooby-doo-wah. Shelves recoil. Books snap shut. The axolotl grins. Bebop beats bureaucracy. Something tugs your sleeve. A child's primer, its embroidery floss illustrations depicting Medusa knitting sweaters for hydras. One hydra models a cable-knit turtleneck. Snakehair needs layers, loops in cursive above. You snort. Myths never mention her knitfluencer era. Fatigue hits, a velvet mallet between the eyes. The axolotl yawns, double-jointed, jaw stretching worryingly wide. Power nap. That grimoire looks nap-compatible. It points to a quilted tome, its chapters titled Snooze Commandments and Pillow Fort Diplomacy. You kneel. The book creaks open, exhaling lavender and attic dust. Pages cradle your cheek, surprisingly firm. Memory foam vellum. Clever. The axolotl curls on a paragraph about dream-repelling garlic. Good night, jerkface, it mumbles. Letters rise, quill-shaped constellations behind your eyelids. Something tucks you in a weightless linen embrace. Shelves rustle, reshelving themselves in dewy decimal order. Or maybe chaotic evil. Either way, the shushing stops. Your last thought. That overdue chia pet probably a cactus now. The air thickens, warm and sticky as forgotten jam. Trees loom, gnarled roots cradling fruits that shouldn't exist. Pomegranates glint like ruby skulls. Pears hum with the resonance of tuning forks. You pluck one, its skin gives like wet papyrus. Snack time or cursed artifact. The axolotl eyes the fruit warily. Choose wrong and will end up as hieroglyphic graffiti. You bite anyway. Juice floods your mouth, carrying the sharpness of unripe plums and syllables. Anuai K letter 1E6 3VA macron KU lodges under your molars. A king's name erased from Vedic texts when scribes prioritized monsoon forecasts. The axolotl gags, tastes like expired cough syrup and identity theft. Seeds cluster in your palm, each etched with microscript. 16th century herbalists swore pomegranate pits could spell your enemy's name if boiled in donkey milk under a waning moon. You spit one out. It hits soil, sprouting instantly into a sapling. Huh, says the axolotl. Arboreal autocorrect. The sapling shudders, leaves forming vowel-shaped holes. Wind whistles through them. A voice croaking Mithridate's VI of Pontus. Historians still argue whether the poison-immune ruler faked his death or just forgot to RSVP to mortality. More seeds drop. Saplings rise, each whispering names like Hatshepsut's third architect and that guy who invented sandal laces. One sapling coughs, a phlegmy baritone debating Roman sewer regulations. Can't unhear that, you mutter. The axolotl noses a fallen peach. This one's fuzzy like my ex's manifesto. The fruit splits, revealing flesh pulsing with cuneiform. You take a reluctant bite. Cubaba floods your tongue. The tavern keeper turned Sumerian queen. Her reign lasted 3 generations, until someone noted rulers shouldn't double as bartenders. The pit vibrates, imprinting letter 1E2B, a S hatchek, U S hatchek, a R into your molars. You flick it away. It rolls downhill, shouting Akkadian insults. Groves twist ahead, branches heavy, with fruits mimicking human tongues. You brush a fig. It recites the entire code of Hammurabi backwards. Skip to the part about ox rentals, says the axolotl. Moonlight fractures through leaves, casting stenciled names on your arms. Nebuchadnezzar glows blue, an Egyptian priestess who reportedly bottled dawn's first light. Her recipe: lost when a tipsy scribe spilled beer on the papyrus. You step over roots that murmur electoral votes from Atlantis's lesser-known city council. The axolotl trips, crushing a berry that screams Papyrus 115. Sorry, it yelps, but maybe number your manuscripts better next time. Wind shifts, carrying a metallic tang. The trees thin, revealing a clearing where fruits hang like censers. You reach for a quince, its surface throbbing. Careful, hisses the axolotl. Those are memory mangoes. One nibble, and you'll recall every embarrassing thing you've ever done. Too late. The flavor hits, part honey, part mortification. Your 3rd grade piano recital floods back, wrong notes echoing through the orchard. A seed drops sprouting into a tiny tree that plays chopsticks on root violins. At least it's in tune, you mumble. Shadows deepen. Names grow louder, the grove now a cacophony of forgotten epithets and shopping lists. The axolotl covers its ears. Someone please invent noise-canceling cuneiform. You spot a fig tree heavy with silence, its fruits wrapped in parchment. Tugging one free, you peel the skin. It flakes like ancient tax records. Inside, a seed glowing like a fallen star. Planted, it's the unspoken rule here. You push the seed into loam. Soil bulges, then stills. Nothing. Anticlimactic, says the axolotl. Then a whisper. Air pulses, as if the world just took a sharp breath. The axolotl freezes. Okay, that's new. Roots shift, carving your name into the dirt. Not the one you use, the one you forgot, the one you hummed as a child, half dreaming. It spreads, letters blooming into jasmine vines. You touch a petal. It dissolves, seeding the air with déjà vu. Somewhere, a sapling unfurls leaves shaped like your first laugh. Moonlight filters through a ceiling of coiled vines, each tendril cradling parchment scraps like dormant cocoons. The air smells of foxed paper and longing. You reach instinctively, freezing when the axolotl slaps your wrist with a damp paw. Read one, and it becomes your problem, it says. Ever inherit someone's grocery list from 1347? Coriander haunts me still. The wishes cling upside down, ink bleached by centuries. One fragment drifts loose, brushing your shoulder. Let him notice my haircut shimmers in Carolingian minuscule before dissolving. The axolotl snorts. Medieval thirst. Classic. Your fingers graze a cured leather strip. Roman soldiers left similar votives at Aquisulis, please carved quick before marching north. This one's crisp. May Vibius bunions outlive him. You smirk. Some grudges transcend empires. The vines tighten protective. A scrap whispers against your ear. Make mother forget what she saw in the dovecote. The axolotl shivers. That's the 1373 spicy margarita recipe of regrets. Walk faster. Sun-bleached knots hold pleas from Venetian glassblowers, requests for steady hands and discreet mistresses. 16th century lenscrafters apparently hid messages in bottle seams, their bubbled glass, preserving secrets better than diaries. You trace a warped forgive me glowing in cobalt. Don't, warns the axolotl. Too late. Heat pricks your thumb. The vine snaps, dropping a slip that smells of rosemary and panic. Let the fever take me before the baby does. The ink writhes, morphing into a woman's face, contorted by 1623's childbirth mortality rates. She mouths thank you as the page combusts. Ash coats your tongue. The axolotl flicks its gills in disapproval. Told you, emotional asbestos required in here. A cluster of nautical charts catches your eye stitched with sailors' prayers. Calm winds overlaps steady rum rations in a palimpsest of desperation. One captain's plea spins gold. Let the mermaids lie about my depth. You snort. The axolotl nods. Solid life motto. Beneath a sheath of rice paper, something pulses. A modernist poem smeared with lipstick. Kiss me in the dewy decimal 823 section. Historians still argue whether the Library of Alexandria's fire began in erotic literature or agriculture. The ink blushes crimson, metal glints, a Soviet-era vodka label pleats into an engineer's blueprint. Fix reactor 4. The axolotl inhales sharply. Nope. Chernobyl's ghost deserves better fanfic. Wind whisks the note skyward, a paper crane fleeing its punchline. Your heel crunches vellum. A child's crayon etching glows. Stick figure parents holding hands beneath make them stop fighting. The axolotl sneezes empathy pollen. Right in the childhood trauma. Dust motes swirl, forming shapes. A Victorian seamstress begs for fewer shirtwaists to stitch. A Carthaginian sailor prays for tides to spare his drowned lover's necklace. Each wish unravels, threads stitching your ribs tighter. They're barnacles, says the axolotl. Weigh you down if you let him. Its tail flicks a monk's confession, illegible, except for I fed the mice communion wafers. Chaotic good, respect. You pause at a parchment, dripping wax seals, a queen's plea to erase her signature from a war declaration. The ink squirms, a moth-eaten G regret dissolving as you breathe. Something tugs your sleeve, a papyrus strip clings, demotic script demanding return the usurper's wig to Memphis. You peel it off, the fibers hissing like steam. The axolotl giggles. Ancient Egyptian drama llama. Bet they had killer subtweets. A chill brushes your neck. Unbleached linen hovers, its Coptic stitches spelling, "Don't let them find my gospel." The cloth disintegrates, releasing a 14-note heresy band by the Council of Nicaea. The melody lingers, minor key earworm. "Stop humming that," snaps the axolotl. "You'll summon a theologically confused badger." The path slopes, vines thinning. Moonlight pools ahead. A single scrap flutters down, crisp and modern. Block letters shout fire the therapist who said I'm too self-aware. The axolotl chokes on a laugh. Frame it, mail copies. You step into the clearing, lungs lighter. The axolotl hesitates. Behind you, parchment rustles in unison. 100 inks whisper stay. You don't turn. One scrap tugs free, a charcoal smudge. "Remember me." It floats past, landing in your palm weightless as dandelion fluff. The axolotl peers at it. Generic much. Could be anyone's existential crisis. You fold the note, tucking it behind your ear. It thrums, a faded hum. Maybe it's yours. Maybe you left it here centuries ago, before they scrubbed your name from the archives and called it mercy. The vines sigh, their cargo shifting. 1,000 unspoken wants beat like moth wings against glass. You walk faster, the axolotl's breath syncing with the rhythm. Neither of you mention how the air tastes softer now, flavored by all the words you didn't swallow. The staircase waits, a spiral of worn stone that breathes. Each step sighs underfoot, moist exhales fogging your ankles. You count 73 before realizing numerals here twist. Third becomes 12th, becomes a gulp of thin air. The axolotl sniffs a moss-cracked inscription. "Tread lightly," it reads, or the staircase treads back. Your shadow stretches, elongating up the curve like taffy. Tudor architects used similar cantilevered designs for priest holes, secret stairs that compressed space itself. This one's trickier. The 7th step deliberately squeaks, a acoustic prank left by long-dead masons. Historians still argue whether medieval spiral staircases spiraled clockwise to disadvantage right-handed swordsmen. Here, the direction changes every 13 steps, keeps you polite and panicked. Pollen drifts from somewhere above, golden motes that taste of burnt sugar. The axolotl sneezes a tiny thunderclap. "Bless you," rumbles the step beneath you, its voice gravel and grindstone. You freeze. "Relax," says the axolotl. Sentient architectures, just masonry with abandonment issues. Higher now, the air turns viscous. Your thoughts loosen floaters in a snow globe. One drifts by. Did I feed the cat? Another. Why do we park on driveways? The axolotl bats at them. Stop that. You're cluttering the ascent. A landing appears, or maybe lunges at you. 3 frescoes adorn the walls. The first shows Assyrian laborers hauling a ziggurat step, eyes wide as dinner plates. The second depicts an Elizabethan lady descending stairs, her farthingale brushing aside a dozen ghostly suitors. The third's just a banana peel on azure tile. Ah, says the axolotl, the eternal struggle. Wind whistles through arrow slits, carrying a tune suspiciously like Stairway to Heaven. Your pocket warms. The charcoal scrap from the bower glows. Remember me now pulsing in Morse code. The axolotl yawns. Subtlety's dead, nice knowin' her. Step 46 undulates, a stone undertow. You grab the wall, fingers sinking into mortar softer than butter. 14th century Venetian stairs hid smuggler compartments this way, though they stored spices, not embarrassment. Your hand emerges clutching a desiccated lemon, rind etched, with for the plague you'll catch flirting with that gondolier. Foresight, mutters the axolotl. Truly a curse, near the top maybe. The air thins further. Thoughts balloon, escape velocity imminent. Do giraffes get dizzy? Why's alphabet soup never spicy? Shadows drip upward now, reverse rain fleeing the moon. Your lungs hitch, the axolotl slaps your calf. Breathe through your nose. Mouth breathing insults the staircase. You comply, inhaling petrichor and pomander. The steps widen now as broad as king beds. 18th century footmen supposedly trained here, sprinting stairs with trays of turtle soup. One misstep stained these stones biscorange forever. Don't lick that, says the axolotl too late. Your tongue meets mineral salt and regret. A window slot appears, offering a view of Medusa's roses far below. Their petals spin a pinwheel galaxy rooted in grief. Your charcoal scrap levitates, pressing the glass. The sighing steps crescendo, a disapproval. The axolotl hums the theme from Jaws. You reach how high? The concept of floors unravels here. Your legs jellyfish boneless and drifting. The axolotl goggles at a floating candelabra. Ah, the Denver airport conspiracists were right about one thing architecture can gaslight. Light fractures stained glass. Your eyes adjust. No, thousands of suspended mica flakes refracting the moon. They shiver as you pass. Old St. Mark's Basilica domes used similar mosaics to simulate divine ascension. This feels cheaper, like discount transcendence. The final step resists, a rubbery membrane stretching. You push through, emerging into a space that defies room, ceiling, gone, walls, a suggestion. The axolotl flops onto its back paws, paddling air. Congrats, you've reached the altitude where thoughts go to die. Your scrap drifts upward, rotation, suggesting amusement. Memories tug, a birthday balloon lost to power lines. Below, the staircase keeps sighing, its complaints muffled by distance. You taste clouds, or maybe the inside of a marshmallow. Historians still argue whether the Tower of Babel failed due to language barriers or poor ventilation. Here, the answer's obvious. The axolotl belches a soap bubble. It pops, reeking of burnt toast and existential dread. Welcome to the float zone, it says. Try not to overthink the underthinking. You attempt to sit, legs folding into a pretzel that physics textbooks would call aspirational. The world tilts, or maybe you do. Medusa's gardens spin below, a vinyl record stuck on the second verse. Your thoughts stretch, taffy pulled thin enough to read through. Is consciousness just the brain's screensaver? Why do we call them apartments when they're all stuck together? The axolotl smirks, a skill it shouldn't possess. Need a fig leaf for that naked mind. Silence pools, thick as syrup. Your pulse echoes, each beat erasing a worry. The charcoal scrap disintegrates, ash blending with stars. You exhale breath crystallizing into a wind chime fragment. It tinkles, a nursery rhyme for insomniac constellations. Gravity shifts, gentle as a mother's hand, adjusting a blanket. You drift not up nor down, but sideways through dimensions your middle school geometry teacher would weep over. The axolotl clings to your sleeve, its gills vibrating like kazoos. If you puke, do it discreetly. The void's judgmental. Time unspools, a cassette tape eaten by a VCR. You float past something. Maybe the ghost of La Sagrada Familia's unfinished spires, maybe just gas. The moon hangs, a pendant on night's throat. At this height, even Medusa's roses seem tender, their thorns softened by distance. Your body flickers, a bulb nearing its wattage limit. The axolotl's eyes dim. Don't fade yet, it mumbles. The best part's always. Light floods a dawn that isn't dawn. Above, below. You squint, retinas imprinting with something between cathedral glass and an overripe peach. The staircase's final sigh echoes, laden with wet cobblestone and apricot musk. You inhale, filling lungs you forgot you needed. Ground crystallizes beneath you, or maybe you crystallize around it. The axolotl flops onto solid stone, its side-eye legendary. Well, grab a Snickers, build a pyramid. What's next? You stand, knees gelatinous, but game. Somewhere beyond this non-room, steps keep sighing, inviting, accusing, indifferent. Moonlight licks your knuckles cool as a spurned lover's goodbye. The axolotl flicks your earlobe. Move before the staircase invents an escalator. The moon paints every stone silver. You shuffle forward, velvet petals catch your shoelaces like shy suitors. Each step scatters waltzing shadows, partnerless but persistent. A breeze carries pollen or powdered marble. Your nose tingles with the threat of a sneeze. Medusa's roses coil around ivy-choked columns, thorns, glinting like miniature scimitars. Tudor knot gardens paled compared to this wildness. 17th century botanists swore night blooms could transcribe dreams. These petals vibrate with unread confessions. Historians still argue whether Babylon's hanging gardens used water screws or slave-dug channels. Here, hydration seems powered by pure stubbornness. You crouch to inspect a fallen blossom, its crimson streaked with hieroglyphic gold. Lepidoptera, murmurs the axolotl whiskers quivering. Cretaceous butterflies carved these as apologies to ferns. The petals crumble, dusting your palm with cinnamon-scented regret. A thorn snags your sleeve, threads unraveling in slow motion. Charming, you mutter. Medusa's hosting a botanical rave, and we're not on the list. The axolotl snorts, a sound like a kazoo choking. Relax, roses haven't assassinated anyone since Cleopatra's asp subcontractor folded. Moonlight pools in a petal-shaped groove ahead, too precise for nature. Your thumb traces its edge. Persian gardens once mirrored stars with silver plates. This depression feels deeper, hungrier. Don't, warns the axolotl as your palm meets cold metal. Shadows twist into something sinewy, brushing your shoes before vanishing. Roses shiver, not afraid, but acknowledging. A bloom unfurls near your face, stamen coiled like a key. Classic, sighs the axolotl. Floral lockpicks, because standard keys lack panache. Petals part, revealing a hall lined with owl mosaics mid-blink. Marble eyes track you, lids snapping shut with each heartbeat. Aztec owl gods guided souls through Mictlan. These feel more like nightclub bouncers. Your heel hovers over a tile, a mouse brandishing a toothpick spear. Tread softly, says the axolotl. Rodent revolutions start with small grievances. You sidestep the mouse, triggering a viper-tangled tile instead. A hiss ripples through leaves, foliage spiraling into barricades. Most snake venoms just social anxiety, offers the axolotl. But maybe hasten. The path dead ends at a fountain, obsidian lotuses choking its basin. Water droplets hover defying physics and politeness. Ptolemaic engineers floated statues with magnets. This reeks of cut-rate magic. The axolotl pokes a droplet. It bursts, reeking of singed resin. Ancient air freshener, it deduces. A rose tendril taps your shoulder, then points skyward. Vines twist into a staircase ascending well, the moon's personal bubble. Each step crawls with glow-in-the-dark aphids. Hard pass, you declare. The axolotl shrugs. Fair, but the exit's probably past that existential audacity. First, stare groans, vibrating your molars. Second, squelches. Third, smells like your middle school gym socks. By step 7, architecture feels emotionally abusive. The axolotl hums, stairway to heaven flat and unrepentant. Wind tugs your clothes, invisible tailors debating alterations. Petals swirl into half-familiar faces. The dentist who overshared about his divorcee. Your cousin's Wi-Fi router. That pigeon who judged your lunch choices. The axolotl bats them away. Let it go. Nostalgia's a pyramid scheme. At the staircase's non-summit, a single rose pulses like a heart monitor. Its roots impale a tablet engraved, Know thyself, now vandalized to no THSL. The axolotl squints. Philosophy or graffiti? The lines thinner here. You reach thorns recoil like startled cats. Beneath the petals, a plastic button. Glowing, absurd. Ah, says the axolotl. Hellenic mysticism meets infomercial. You press it, dignity abandoned at step 3. Silence, then a click older than taxes. Walls collapse inward, revealing a meadow where fireflies spell abandon hope in Morse. Roses cackle, seed pods rattling like maracas. Alternative plan, suggests the axolotl. We nap in that suspiciously soft-looking shrub. The moon lurches nearer craters, resolving into a rose or a cosmic eye roll. Soil breathes beneath your soles. The axolotl's gills flutter. Medieval alchemists thought moonlight inhalation caused truth bombs. Symptoms include haikus and life reassessments. You exhale breath condensing into a parchment scroll. Unfurled, it reads, Aster. The axolotl peers over. Greek for star. Also, an overpriced cologne from that mall kiosk you avoid. A petal melts on your tongue, tasting of unresolved group texts. The horizon tilts, gentle as a counselor's nod. Somewhere, Medusa hums a tune older than irrigation. Historians still argue whether Rome's Vestal virgins moonlighted as landscapers. Given these thorns, they definitely forgot to prune. Your shoes sink into damp earth, the meadow dissolving like sugar in black tea. Ahead, water glistens thick as printer ink. An 8-foot reed boat waits, its hull inlaid with are those piano keys. The axolotl pokes a yellowed ivory. Middle sea sounds mournful and slightly flat. Tchaikovsky's Lost Gondola, it declares. Rumor says he composed Swan Lake on this, apocryphal, but the vibe's immaculate. You step aboard, bones crunch beneath your soles. Not gravel, not shells. Tiny avian skeletons shimmer under the brackish surface. Their hollow ribs vibrate as the current stirs, spilling a sound like rain on tin roofs. Florentine nobles once floated corpse-strewn canals during plagues. This feels showier. Less cholera, more goth aria. The boat drifts without oars. Moonlight slices through oily water, illuminating vertebrae arranged into arrowheads. Going south, notes the axolotl. Cleopatra's barge supposedly had a navigational lyre powered by eels. This is budget conscious. A bone juts up, scapulae splayed like sails. You graze it, 23 notes tumble out. One lodges in your ribs, an ancient Greek melody, or the intro to Hey Jude. Scholars still debate whether Nero's rotating banquet hall ran on slave labor or caged starlings. Either way, employer reviews were scathing. Black water sloshes, thick and sweet as molasses. It clings to your fingers, an aroma of overripe figs and myrrh. Venetian glassmakers once bottled plague cures in similar sludge. The axolotl sniffs, smells like my ex's mixtape, all musk and false promises. Something brushes the keel, a skeletal flock swirling beneath. Their beaks open silent, except for the click of jaws. Two bones tangle mid-flow, forming a xylophone bridge. They teach kids music theory in Hades, if Hades had OSHA compliance. The canal narrows, walls now ribbed with interlocking femurs. Carthaginian generals allegedly stuffed warships with crocodile bones for intimidation. This overcompensation via John Cage fanfiction. You cough, the air's dense with bone dust. Essence of departmental meetings, the axolotl mutters. All creak, no crescendo. Ahead a fork. Left channel murmurs lullabies. Right hisses like untuned violins. Both smell suspiciously of apricot hand sanitizer. The axolotl flicks its tail. 3rd century Mesopotamian oracles used birdbone dice. Roll for initiative. You hesitate. The boat chooses for you, listing right. Water pitches steep. The craft tilts like a drunken ballerina. Bones rattle a tarantella. Your spine sinks to the rhythm against all consent. Ancestral rave, shouts the axolotl over the din. Vatican archivists found 16th century complaints about bone noise corrupting choir boys, still unclear if metaphor. The plunge ends in still water, a lagoon choked with wing-shard mosaics. They depict a nightingale mid-cry, beak split into 3 screams. Renaissance anatomists drew hearts that weigh each chamber, labeled love, spite, and unpaid tabs. You wade ashore, bone dust swirling into a path. It parts around a feather lodged in stone. Not stone, petrified sap. The axolotl prods it. Prehistoric chewing gum. Trapped a songbird mid-chirp. Smithsonian's got 12. Its voice softens. 80 million years old, still tastes like desperation and hope. Silence swallows the last echo. Even the water holds its breath. Your pulse thrums louder here, each beat tugging you toward an archway strung with wishbones. They clack like dentures in a tumbler. One snaps as you pass, half spirals into ash. The other gleams. Make a wish, whispers the axolotl. But skip the ones involving boats. Above, the moon drips like wet clay, each droplet birthing a tiny bone flower. They bloom and wilt in seconds. You catch one, transparent petals etching a map onto your palm. It dissolves into salt. Persephone's Spotify playlist, the axolotl muses, seasonal depression bangers. The path ends at a dry fountain, its basin full of clavicle shards. A stone plaque reads, "Sing here." You hum half-remembered campfire tunes. Fractured bones rise, forming a jagged treble clef. It stabs the fountain water, erupting in braille. The droplets spell fermatas ahead. Your lungs ache, not from breath holding, from carrying every unsung hymn since Mesopotamia. The axolotl yawns, translucent eyelids closing. Rest, it murmurs. Nightingales buried here hate auditions. Something in the water sighs, bone dust finally settling. You count 17 heartbeats, then 93, then none. The world dims, a velvet curtain woven from mismatched silences. Time unspools where your shadow once stood. Moonlight congeals into gilt frames, each holding canvases that squirm when you blink. The first painting shows a knight astride an owl, his lance tipped with melted stained glass. Turn away. It becomes a grocery list in cuneiform when peripheral vision fails. Historians still argue whether Renaissance masters used pigeon blood varnish. But this gallery stings of epigenetics and broken promises. A pastoral scene ripples, sheep morphing into typewriters mid-graze. Your breath fogs the frame. The glass tastes like library paste and shame. 17th century Dutch forgers perfected that aftertaste. They'd bake fake, Vermeers in chicken dung for authenticity. This feels grander, more honest. Close your eyes. A burst of color slicks your eyelids. The owl knight now rides through a neon savanna, his shield a spinning vinyl record. Blink, it's just daubs of ochre and regret again. The axolotl licks a corner. Hitler's alpine landscapes hung here briefly, rejected for excessive sincerity. Its tail flicks a droplet of wall text. The ink reads, unfinished business only. A portrait of Medusa winks, snakes coiling into roller coaster loops. Stare directly, she becomes a blurry smudge of umber. Look away, her stone gaze etches today's date onto your retinas. Louvre archivists once misplaced the Mona Lisa for 2 years. This place misplaces your sense of gravity. You pivot, a still life of rotting pears hums the Soviet national anthem. One fruit sprouts clock hands. Another bleeds mascara. Tsarist napkin rings hold the composition together, rusted and slightly judgmental. The axolotl sneezes pear seeds. Napoleon's chefs sculpted victory monuments from lard. Lasted longer than his empire. Darkness pools around a frame, labeled self-portrait as silence. The canvas is empty, yet your pupils dilate painfully. Rub your eyes, brief blackout. When vision returns, your reflection mouths warnings in Aramaic. Assyrian anxiety dreams involved cheese graters and public speaking. This is worse. A diptych explodes. Left panel showing your first kiss, right panel showing the combustion of Atlantis. The brush strokes sync with your carotid pulse. Carthaginian war, elephants actually feared mice, a fact you desperately cling to now. The axolotl nibbles a corner. Don't anthropomorphize the art. It hates that. 4 frames form a zoetrope, a mummified cat chasing a beam of starlight. Focus, it's just static and vertigo. Early film reels were coated in ground gallstones for luminosity. This needs less history, more antacids. You trip over a fallen plaque. Genius is a collective delusion. The floor tiles depict Edison electrocuting a giraffe. Historians still argue whether he actually tried that. Answers in the brushwork. Each hair on the giraffe's neck stands erect. A child's finger painting oozes off its canvas, forming a puddle of primary colors. It creeps toward your shoes, avoiding the parquet like lava. Vienna's Kunsthistorisches Museum once exhibited a blank canvas titled Tax Evasion. This feels brasher, hungrier. Strobe lights erupt, frames flickering through styles. Cubist lobsters, pointillist panic attacks, a Baroque depiction of Wi-Fi signals. The axolotl shields its eyes. Monet hated the color black. Now look at him, poster boy for shadow voids. Silence drops like a velvet gag. All paintings freeze mid-shift, a deer-headed ballerina balancing on Seneca's last breath. Your ears pop, pressure equalizing with some unseen atmosphere. Cranach the elder painted Luther's farts as angelic cherubs. Art critiques should have ended there. The exit's a fresco of closing eyelids. Step through. The gallery exhales behind you. Only then do you notice the paint under your nails, warm and squirming. It spells apology not accepted in UV-reactive sap green. The axolotl whistles. Dutch Golden Age, baby. They never quit. Ahead, something unrecognizable groans. But here now, the floor feels like cooled wax. Your shadow returns, stretching toward a scent of formaldehyde and lilacs. 1 step. 2. The gallery's heartbeat fades, replaced by the textured hush of held breath. The formaldehyde sting fades, replaced by something muskier. Your soles sink into what might be cork or fossilized honeycomb. Before you, translucent eggs cluster like half-inflated lanterns. Their yolks flicker, irregular pulses mimicking a cardiac arrhythmia. Cleopatra's ornithologists built heated sand beds for royal ibis eggs, a fact wasted on whatever's gestating here. 1 egg rolls toward your foot, its shadow stretching into a feather-shaped stain. Warmth radiates through your boot. You half expect a yolk PSA about cholesterol. The shell feels like waxed parchment, a medieval map's empty margin. Cartographers used ostrich eggs to mark unexplored territories, those blank spaces labeled, "Here be whatever this is." Kneeling floods your sinuses with burnt caramel and old lightning. Your breath clouds an egg's surface, revealing veined patterns beneath. They shift, forming constellations last seen during the Bronze Age collapse. Historians still argue whether Minoan snake goddess figurines held actual reptiles or symbolic voids, the answers wriggling behind this membrane. A hiccup disrupts the glow, 1 yolk dimming to sepia. Others brighten in response, networked like votive candles. Your palms sweat beeswax, ancient Greek incubators, whispered prayers through temple floor vents. Now you're the HVAC system for unhatched metaphors. Another egg rocks, its shell etching crescent moons into the cork honeycomb. You press an ear to the surface. Tinnitus morphs into a lullaby sung in reverse by overlapping voices. 17th century midwives believed inverted songs eased breech births. This feels less medicinal, more transactional. Heat builds beneath your kneecaps. 3 eggs sink their pulsing, the light hitting your retinas like a strobe keyed to regret. Someone's college dorm room probably had this same ambience, minus the existential quid pro quo. A yolk flares, etching afterimages of winged serpents circling Stonehenge. Your molars ache. The largest egg cracks vertically, not with a snap, but a sigh. Amber resin oozes, scented like panic and bergamot. Inside, a fetal shape curls around its own shadow. No beak, no wings, just a silhouette vibrating at dentist drill pitch. Aztec soul houses were simpler terracotta pots, buried with hair and jade. Resin pools around your ankles, sucking at your heels. The other eggs hum in C-sharp minor, a chord Prokofiev stabbed into Stalin's denunciation letters. Your sternum resonates. Home security systems envy this bone conduction trick. The hatchling unspools a length of sentient obsidian thread. It brushes your wrist, implanting visions of Elizabethan flea collars and taxidermied dodos. Mary Anning's fossil hunting dog once ate a priceless copperlight. This feels similar, but harder to explain to curators. More fractures spider across shells. Yolk light floods the chamber, revealing walls pocked with older nests. Some hold egg dust. Others cradle obsidian shards arranged into runes. Archaeologists found similar markings in Saddle-Huruk shrines, still debating if they're shopping lists or apocalyptic prophecies. The thread creature spirals up your arm, leaving a roadmap of phantom bruises. A memory clicks. Grade 5 science class, dissecting owl pellets, finding mouse skulls that grinned up at you. This is that grin stretched across space-time, resin now waist-high, warm as blood bank plasma. Eggs dissolve into the muck, their occupants swimming through amber like eels through ink. One loops around your ribs, its hum syncing with your diaphragm. Ottoman physicians diagnosed melancholy vapors by feeling patients' spleens. We should have kept that practice. Something heavy flops against your calf. A yolk ghost, translucent and fanged, nudges a petrified umbilical cord toward you. Take it. The cord crumbles into Sanskrit ash. Your cuticles bleed indigo. This beats flamingos on fertility talismans, if barely. The chamber darkens, egg light retreating into ceiling fissures. Only the thread creature glows now, wedged between your collar and impending despair. Phoenician glassmakers trapped mercury in perfume vials, tiny universes sealed with donkey glue. Defiance takes strange forms. Silence reclaims the resin as it hardens, immobilizing your legs in amber casts. The hatchlings disperse, digesting your disbelief like Eucharist wafers. Your heartbeat steadies, each thud syncing with distant industrial HVAC systems. Maybe this is just fan fiction for mitochondria. Cold spreads upward. You're a bug in cosmic tree, sap, a future museum, plaques heartfelt typo. But the thread creature remains, pulsing against your jugular. It smells L-I-K-E, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, and deleted browser histories. Historians still argue whether incense clocks actually measured time or just anxiety. Resin reaches your chin. One breath left. The thread slithers into your mouth, not unkindly. Your bones click into a new frequency. Somewhere, a dozen Roman siege engines backfire. Darkness, until the first eggshell piece gleams anew. It carves through amber, floating upward like reverse hail. You rise with them, cocooned in what might be forgiveness or industrial byproduct. The chamber sealing parts, eggshells dissolving into migratory bird formations. Dawn bleeds through, if dawns still exist here. Your feet touch something moist and yielding new earth or old tongue. The thread creature sleeps in your esophagus, a swallowed lullaby. The air tastes of static and wet chalk. Your throat, still humming with the thread creature's aftertaste. Before you, a well curdled from mismatched stones. Its rim glows like a ringworm's halo. You blink, 3 moons swim in the bucket's reflection, none matching Earth's pockmarked friend. Vikings navigated by star paths, called Latharsjarnir. This well's water holds darker maps. Rope grates against pulleys, a sound like grinding molars. The bucket emerges sloshing liquid mercury that isn't. Silver clings to the wood, shaping itself into herons, tadpoles, the occasional inappropriate gesture. 17th century quacks sold lunar tinctures, scooped from Sussex bogs. This brew outclasses their scams. Your fingers dip. The metal feels like refrigerated crocodile tears. Spill it, argent rivulets race across flagstones. They writhe, forming a zodiac only insomniacs recognize. Orion here, but his belt's a noose. Cassiopeia chain smokes supernovas. Historians still argue whether Babylonian star catalogs documented real supernovae or just bad acid trips. The answer's winking at you from a puddle shaped like Toledo. The liquid thickens, constellations snagging on your boot treads. Each step leaves a trail of squashed Ursa Minors. You half expect a cease and desist from the cosmos. Ptolemy's Almagest never mentioned cosmic copyright law oversight or mercy. A Sagittarius arrow zips past your ear, embedding itself in a cypress stump. More spills the ground, now a funhouse mirror of familiar skies. The Big Dipper leaks over your toes, its handle bent into a question mark. Medieval alchemists drank mercury to align with lunar forces. Their autopsy reports were illuminating. Your ankles tingle, electroplating in real time. The well gurgles, a belch echoes from its depths. Out floats a carp, woven from void, its scales reverse shimmering. It mouths silent words. Tang dynasty poets kept moonfish in garden ponds to inspire verses. Lee Bai's probably laughing through the afterlife right now. Silver pools around the carp, its body disintegrating into syllables. They swirl into haiku about tax audits and airport security lines. Your left pupil twitches, a hexameter about drier lint lodges there. Scholars debate if Sappho's lost poems sank in similar wells. Send a postcard when you find out. The liquid rises, knee-high and prickling like carbonated regret. Moons multiply one, phases into a pie chart on workplace productivity. Another regurgitates Armstrong's boot print, badly photoshopped onto a bagel. The Apollo 11 crew left 96 bags of human waste on the lunar surface. Poetry comes in many forms. You slosh forward, each movement splicing new constellations. Cygnus becomes a paper airplane. Draco's a crooked Richter scale. The thread creature stirs in your throat, humming along to the squelch of galaxies underfoot. Maybe this is how Van Gogh saw the night, edible and slightly vengeful. The well shudders, spitting up a chain of moondust pearls. One bursts against your cheek, a scent of burnt honey and printer toner floods your sinuses. Your molars buzz. 8th century Japanese nobles blackened their teeth to mimic the moonless void. Beauty standards, always a trap. Silver climbs to your hips, movement, now a viscous waltz. Shapes coalesce, a bearskin rug, Ursa Major's revenge. A pyramid scheme flowchart, Elvis Presley's birth certificate. Archaeologists found Cleopatra's toothpaste recipe in a cave near Alexandria. It included crushed mouse liver. Histories, glamour dissolves on contact. Moonlight clots, forming a raft of congealed stardust. You clamber aboard its surface dimples like memory foam. The thread creature migrates to your sternum, nesting where panic attacks usually bloom. Ottoman astronomers plotted comet paths using Reiki-soaked calculating machines. Your voyage feels equally precise. The well recedes, a shrinking pupil in the dark. Above the falls, stars rearrange into a sushi conveyor belt. Neptune's there, masquerading as a salmon roll. A 16th century nun claimed the Virgin Mary appeared in a well near Bruges. Her description involved more trout. Your raft drifts, ripples etching equations into the silver. E equals MC2 becomes E equals McRib under moonlight's alchemy. The air smells of burnt toast and existential compromise. Nikola Tesla gardened pigeons in his hotel room. We all have our heresies. Land appears, a shore of crushed opal. You stumble onto sand that squeaks like styrofoam. The liquid retreats, taking 80% of your willpower with it. Behind the well coughs up an astrolabe shaped like a pelvic bone. Take it, the instructions are in Akkadian cuneiform. Practical gifts only. Dawn bleeds again, if dawns still mean anything here. The thread creature coils behind your uvula, ready to hitchhike into the next disaster. Somewhere, a librarian shelves the Milky Way under metaphorical cartography. The well's water soaks your socks, staining them with bootleg eternity. The altar looms, a slab of basalt sweating obsidian tears. Wicks stand at attention, pale filaments, craving combustion. Your exhale pools in the air, a cloud that snags on unlit candles. Flame is forbidden here, only breath matters. 9th century Byzantine monks practiced hesychasm, praying through controlled breathing until their vision pulsed gold. Their technique would have been overkill here. You step closer, knees popping like damp kindling. The candles lean towards your mouth, follow the carbon dioxide. Each wick drinks your breath, glowing faintly as emphysema stars. Secondary smoke without fire. Archaeologists found eternal lamps in Roman tombs, their wicks still bone dry after millennia. This feels less like discovery, more like trespassing. A draft snakes through the chamber, extinguishing 3 breathlights. The remaining candles strain higher, desperate as overwatered orchids. Victorian mediums swore they could ignite seance candles with ghostly sighs. Spoiler, their assistants carried matches. Your lungs ache from the charade. Candle soot drifts upwards, defying gravity to graffiti the ceiling. Symbols form a moth's wing anatomy chart, an IKEA manual for guillotines. Historians still argue whether the ancient Libyans used smoke signals or just really aggressive semaphore. The debate simpers in the margins of academia. Your next exhale fogs a wick. It flares briefly. The light reveals carvings beneath the altar, wolves devouring their own tails, pomegranates full of teeth. 17th century midwives burned wolf-fat candles during difficult births. You suddenly miss your uncomplicated desk job. The flame dies, taking the relief with it. Darkness returns thicker now, almost gelatinous. A candle tips over its wick, brushing your wrist. Cold spreads, like Novocaine injected straight into the ulnar nerve. 8th century Chinese alchemists drank candle wax to achieve immortality. Autopsies showed otherwise. You inhale sharply. The sound echoes 12 times. Each reverberation lights a candle in sequence, a domino effect of gasp and glow. The chamber becomes a chapel of wheezing bioluminescence. Renaissance surgeons believed breath carried the soul's weight, 3 pounds exact. Your soul feels heavier tonight. Shadows congeal between candles, forming a shape too angular for biology. It paces, all elbows and grievances. The wicks bend toward it hungry. Medieval Persians wrote of gin spun from extinguished candle smoke. This one's filing its nails with detached menace. 3 candles gutter. You instinctively purse your lips and blow. Mistake. The flames leap sideways, igniting a tapestry depicting Medusa's dermatology appointment. Wax melts upwards, congealing into stalactites that hum middle C. Tudor choir masters trained boys to hold notes until candles burned out. Cruelty and piety, old friends. A wick detaches, coiling around your pinky like a ringworm possessed. It squeezes, drawing blood that beads black in the unstable light. Your pulse becomes audible, a Kickstarter metronome. Aztec priests lit candles with sacrificial blood, the better to see the future. Retroactive regret coats your tongue. The altar cracks, splitting into a smile full of quartz teeth. Candles topple, rolling towards the fissure. You stamp them out, sole of your boot, fusing with cooling wax. 70s survival guides recommended candle wax for sealing wounds. They omitted the blisters. Silence falls, the kind that rings. Remaining candles dim, their wicks retracting into tiny sphincters of beeswax. A draft carries the scent of singed eyelashes. Napoleonic soldiers used candle smoke to encrypt messages. Decoding requires a paranoia you can't muster. The final candle dies, plunging you into jurisdictionless dark. Your next breath stays inside, a hostage situation in the alveoli. The thread creature stirs, offering to fix this for 3 easy payments. Decline. Some deals even sleep can't justify. Dawn arrives, or something wearing dawn's carcass. Gray light reveals the altar, now barren wicks plucked clean. Only wax scars remain, Rorschach smears, even Freud would dismiss. You pocket a stray bead of tallow, for later, for evidence, for absolutely no reason at all. Stone arches loop overhead, knotted like petrified ivy. Your shoes scuff dust that billows upward, each particle a muted cymbal crash. Beaks gape everywhere, curved stone mouths, frozen mid-chirp. Glyphs spiral down their throats, petroglyphs of quarter notes and shattered lullabies. Victorian linguists once tried translating bird calls into sonnets. Their manuscripts read like psychotic crossword puzzles. You graze a perch, its surface hums. The vibration melts into your knuckles, a G-sharp wedged under the skin. 3rd century Chinese scholars kept caged orioles to test poetry's musicality. Here, the test chews on your tendons. A glyph pulses, amber light licks your wrist. Lean closer. The stone tastes like static and bergamot. 3 perches form a triune of silence. Their glyphs spell nothing readable, just sharp angles and tail-feather serifs. Historians still argue whether the Library of Alexandria housed song scrolls or just ambitious birdseed catalogs. The academic world thrives on willful delusion. Your shadow stretches across the nearest glyph. It contorts into 8th rests. A cold draft whistles through beak-shaped vents. The sound morphs into something nearly melodic, a nursery rhyme missing its consonants. 18th century sailors mistook albatross calls for siren songs. Mutinies ensued. This tune wants less, a whimper beneath fingernails. You press your ear to the wall. Mistake. The stone bites, leaving lobe dentures of frost. 8 glyphs ignite cobalt. Their combined hum drops the room's temperature 10 degrees. Goosebumps rise, Armageddon braille. 1970s, NASA experiments proved sound waves can levitate water droplets. You're the droplet now, hovering half-inch above floor tiles. The Avicenna Medical Journal once prescribed nightingale songs for gout. Modern science weeps. Your elbow brushes a perch cluster. Glyphs rearrange spelling BTHOVEN in cuneiform. Probably coincidence. Definitely pretentious. A thin chime slices the air, Fauré's requiem, as performed by dental drills. Covering your ears does nothing. The year without summer, 1816, saw European birds fall silent from volcanic ash. You vote we revisit that concept. Light fractures through a stained glass dome, projecting prismatic notes onto your chest. They squirm parasitic sheet music. Swat them away, they regenerate faster. 14th century Gregorian choirs banned vibrato as sensual. Their loss. This is sensuality's ugly cousin, the one who borrows money and existential dread. A glyph detaches, clinging to your shirt like musical lint. Peel it off, the ink stains through to skin. Mozart wrote crude ditties about buttocks. You found his spiritual successor. The stain pulses, a metronome counting your carotid's sluggish beats. Renaissance physicians mapped pulse rhythms to musical modes. You're rocking a drunken dirge. Shadows congeal between perches, vaguely avian, if birds were made of smoke and regret. They peck at the glyphs, releasing dissonant chimes with every strike. Your molars ache in 7/8 time. 1920s Parisian cabarets used wind machines to haunt audiences. This needs less ambience and more exit signs. The central perch splits, oozing black resin that smells of rosin and rotting peaches. Touch it, the substance hardens instantly. Your finger wears obsidian thimble now. Heavy. Hungarian folklore claims resin captures souls mid-sneeze. You've likely trapdoored someone's allergenic ghost. Glyphs swarm your periphery, flocking like crows on Adderall. Close your eyes. Bad idea. The hum becomes taste, brass, and burnt honey. World War II radio operators identified planes by engine harmonics. You could ID a B-52 in this din could. Won't. A beak snaps shut millimeters from your nose. Petrified gravel rains down. Choke on a fragment. It dissolves into a scale run down your throat. Cinnamon aftertaste. Roman vomitoriums supposedly featured flautists to ease the purge. Histories full of bad ideas with good PR, lightning arcs between perches, or maybe just a trick of the humming. Hair stands alert, each follicle tuned to A440. 1950s beauty pageants electrocuted contestants to liven their poise. Pageantry died. Darwin smiled. Your spine crackles like a Tesla coil, less poise, more piñata. Silence detonates. Your knees hit marble, the impact sinking with a final glyph's demise. It flickers, spelling Verdi before crumbling. Opera's dead. Long live tinnitus. 1930s radio hosts ended broadcasts by shattering wineglasses. You'd kill for that kind of closure. Dawn leaks through cracks, pale and disinterested. Glyphs retreat into stone, their songs archived for crueler guests. Your clothes hum faintly. Dry cleaners will charge extra. In 1997, an Icelandic band released an album silent as snowfall. This place needs their PR team. The exit yawns, its archway carvings depicting lyres and broken tuning forks. Pocketed tallow has liquefied, seeping through your hem like accusatory sap. Wipe hands on pants. The glyph stains remain, mourning your mediocrity in mezzo forte. Chopin's heart rests preserved in cognac. Yours just splutters. Onward, the garden's roses won't sniff themselves. Your shoes sink into dunes finer than baker's sugar, each grain a speck of stolen time. Moonlit sands shift, etching dates, and death notices that vanish before you read them. 17th century ships measured watches with hourglasses, each flip a ritual as sacred as breath. These dunes flip themselves, a desert eternally allergic to stillness. Kneel, dig your hands in up to the wrists. The sand flows colder the deeper you go. Your pulse slows to match its trickle. Tiny sparks ignite between grains, static electricity, or dying moments reigniting. A resort town in Nevada once sold eternity sand vials, purportedly from Cleopatra's hourglasses. They were just dyed playground grit. This stuff bites sharper. A dune collapses, burying your knees in century-fine powder. Grains cascade over your thighs, weightless, yet inescapable. Historians still argue whether medieval monks used hourglasses for prayer intervals or just passive-aggressive nap reminders. Both, probably. Your right foot numbs time's frost gnawing through leather soles. Crawl forward. The sand ahead glows faintly bronze. It parts around your fingers like liquid metal, grit becoming mercury. 1945 wristwatch factories, repurposed for bomb timers. Tick-tock turned to kaboom. These sands remember every detonation, each granule a shrapnel shard, with delusions of grandeur. Roll onto your back. Stars pierce the void, their light older than written language. Sands encase your limbs, a gritty cocoon gaining mass by the second. A 19th century conman sold temporal elixirs, made from sundial shadows and gullibility. You'd sip it now, parched throat or not. The dune crests above you, poised to avalanche. Grains whisper as they fall, a chorus of last words in dead dialects. Your mouth fills with the taste of forgotten birthdays and rust. Meteorologists once linked sandstorms to radio wave interference. This storm broadcasts nothing but static and regret. Dig sideways, fingernails clawing through relentless granules. A fist-sized hourglass surfaces, its glass veined like an eggshell. Shake it. Sand forms a tiny version of your face screaming. 2001 archaeology digs found Phoenician hourglasses filled with lapis lazuli dust. Show-offs. Your knuckles bleed, red droplets float upward into the void. Teeth chatter, the cold seeping into marrow. Hypothermia meets metaphysics. A grain lodges in your left eye. It burns like a magnified sunset. Blink hard. Your vision blurs with kaleidoscope fractals, Renaissance diagrams of purgatory made flesh. Sudden incline, you're sliding backward into a sand funnel. Granules abrade your palms, raw, exfoliating skin and sanity. Victorian hourglasses set in whalebone frames were all the rage, right before whaling ships started vanishing. Coincidence or karma? The dunes vote karma. Flat ground if you squint. Sink to your elbows anyway. A buried obelisk scratches your shin, its hieroglyphs too worn to parse. Touch one symbol, it transfers to your skin like a tattoo stencil. Sumerian timekeepers used water clocks. Less poetic, more mildew. Sand condenses around your neck, squeezing with the patience of tectonic plates. Gasp, granules coat your tongue like aspartame and ashes. 1960s, sci-fi promised jetpacks, not this granular quicksand existentialism. Left pinky goes limp, pins and needles, singing lullabies in Morse code. A jagged rock emerges, your forehead greets it warmly. Blood drips, each droplet morphs into a ruby hourglass midair. Catch one, it shatters into a month's worth of Tuesdays. 8th century Chinese alchemists drank mercury seeking immortality. They'd pity you or take notes. Coughing fits double you over. Sand expels in coughs, shaped like hourglasses. They hover, judging your life choices. 1980s music videos had better special effects. Your ribs ache, bruised by the weight of hypothetical yesterdays. Lightning forks through the dunes, each strike freezing sand mid-fall. Statues of mid-sneeze pilgrims surround you, granular sneers immortalized. A museum in Prague displays a room where time runs backward. It's just tilted clocks and sticky floors, but the metaphor holds. The storm stills, sand now ankle-deep and sparkling. A faint path emerges, lined with hourglass fragments that chime when stepped on. Follow it. Your shadow stretches into tomorrow, a tattered banner. Even hours won't mend. The chiming path ends at a cave mouth, exhaling metallic sighs, rust and sleep fused into one scent. Inside, a forge glowing corpse gold. Anvils stand crooked like rotten teeth in an iron jaw. Your knuckle brushes a sword rack. Blades crumble into orange dust. Crusaders carried Damascus steel curved like crescent moons. This place, more like Damascus rust. A hammer hangs mid-swing, frozen above a blade wider than your torso. Touch the handle, it vibrates, transmitting 9 centuries of dulled edges into your bones. Victorian sleep clinics experimented with dream swords, weighted foils to exhaust insomniacs through mock duels. The NHS declined the patent wisely. Step closer. The blade's surface reflects your face. If funhouse mirrors traded distortion for existential fatigue. Engraved vines coil around the fuller, each leaf a yawn given form. Historians still debate whether sleepless armorers caused the Dark Ages, shoddy polearms. Correlation isn't causation, but those halberds looked sleepy. Your shadow stretches toward a coal pile, lumps glitter like fossilized blackberries. Kick one. It rolls, leaving a trail of powdered obsidian. 17th century Japanese smiths slept in their workshops to dream forge katana designs. Most just inhaled carbon monoxide hallucinations. The air thickens, each breath tastes of wet iron and lavender sachets. A whetstone spins lazily, its surface scarred by centuries of listless sharpening. Modern makers swear by ultrasonic blade honing. This whetstone, it's been phoning it in since the Bronze Age. Reach for a tongs, they disintegrate into copper flakes. Palm fills with verdigris, confetti, 1990s, infomercials sold, miracle blade, sets that couldn't cut warm butter. You found their ancient ancestor. Laughter echoes, or maybe a bellows, death rattle. Follow the sound. Your boots kick through drifts of chainmail confetti, half-rusted links clinging to your shoelaces. Napoleonic soldiers filed bayonet edges dull to cause mangling wounds. Wars never lacked for creativity. A furnace flickers, cold blue flames lick at a crucible of molten tin. Peer inside. The liquid metal bubbles, forming faces that sink screaming. Rhode Island's old sword factories now make surgical tools. Progress-ish. Grab a mold, pour. The tin solidifies instantly, a dagger shaped like a spoon. Stab the air. It droops, heated by nothing but existential ambivalence. A grindstone creaks, powered by a drowsy river of mercury. Hold your new blade against it. Sparks fly, popsicle stick orange and underwhelming. Catch one on your tongue. Tastes like burnt marshmallow and abandoned New Year's resolutions. The wall shivers, revealing a rack of clay jugs. Each bears a label, Somnus VI, for nightmares of medium severity. Unplug the cork. Purple vapor escapes, coalescing into a tiny axe that dissipates with a snore. Your eyelids dip, knees buckling into a pile of blunted arrowheads. A 1943 pamphlet claimed Hitler's Smiths weaponized insomnia. Total bunk, but this place could have fueled the myth. Crawl toward a workbench, hands graze parchment, a blueprint showing a sword hilt wired to an alarm clock. The margin note, 2 on the nose. A gauntlet grips your shoulder. Turn slumped iron armor filled with honeysuckle vines. Its visor drips nectar. Historians still argue whether Valyrian steel was fantasy or forgotten metallurgy. Neither. It was prop comedy for fire-breathing nerds. The forge's back wall crumbles, revealing a cliffside salted with broken hilts. Wind whistles through pommel holes, a dirge for lost sharpness. You pocket a rivet tiny and sad its destiny to undo a single button. Moonlight floods the cave, blunt weapons glint like aluminum foil. The path ahead slopes upward, littered with hilts that hum lullabies when stepped on. A final glance back, the armor waves, honeysuckle tendrils spelling, "Don't forget to rate this dream in pollen." Sleepwalking never felt this productive. Moonlight pools at your feet, thick as spilled mercury, as the door looms ahead. Its oak planks shimmer wormholes, spelling runes your eyes refuse to trace. Ajar, just enough to show infinite void through the crack. Centuries-old European doorknobs were often coated in lead, a fact explaining certain nobles' sleepwalking tendencies. Your palm hovers, feeling the chill before contact. Historians still argue whether the Romans invented hinges or just borrowed them from pissed-off ghosts. The wood groans, an old man's spine adjusting to movement. You push, a scent of mothballs and burnt toast billowing out. 1920s mediums claimed spirit realms smell like overbaked communion wafers. Overachievers, those mediums. Step 1, toes breach the threshold. Air thickens, syrupy and warm, like breathing inside a sealed terrarium. Ancient Mesopotamians buried sleepers beneath temple doors to receive prophetic dreams. Most just got dirt naps. Step 2, heels lift. Gravity shifts. Suddenly you're floating horizontal, but upright. Keys jingle in your pocket, the sad rivet from the forge clinking against them. Some pre-Incan mummies wore dorky amulets to unlock the afterlife. Judging by this drafty eternity, they oversold the real estate. The door slams soundless. Darkness spills, not black, but the blue of forgotten computer screens. Your eyelids twitch automatic. Muscle memory fights to blink, but the air holds them open, Victorians believed staring into void light cured insomnia. Results were dubious. A shape materializes, a lantern dangling from nothing. Its flame burns downward, defying physics like a teenager's curfew. Reach for it, fingers pass through glassless iron. Cold licks your wrist, frost blooming in the shape of a pinecone. Wind sighs, carrying half a nursery rhyme in Dead Norse. Your shirt flaps, buttons threatening mutiny. 13th century Icelandic lullabies often omitted endings to trick infants into finishing the verse. Ancient helicopter parenting. The floor ripples, stone to water to static fuzz. Knees buckle, but you don't fall. Balance here follows dream logic, all trust falls, and invisible hands. 18th century Parisian sleep doctors prescribed liquid walks over actual medicine. Can't fault their panache. Something tugs your sleeve, a shadow thread winding toward distant pinpricks of light. Follow it or get dragged. Byzantine emperors used weighted silk ropes to induce drowsiness during endless court rituals. Modern CEOs use espresso. The lights swell, revealing a garden of floating mattresses. Goose down tufts drift like dandelion spores. One pillow bears your childhood pillowcases, faded rocket ships. 70s NASA engineers actually tested zero-gravity naps. The mission patch read, Snorlab 1. Lie back. Springs creak, a sound older than mattresses themselves. The ceiling swirls, Van Gogh's Starry Night, filtered through a lava lamp. Art scholars still spar over whether Van Gogh painted insomnia or caused it. Your toes unclench, a sigh unraveling from sternum to throat. The mattress hums, vibrations syncing with your pulse. Medieval peasants slept on flax-stuffed sacks, rated one flea to plague adjacent by Yelp reviewers of 1347. Eyelids flutter, but resistance fades. Each blink lasts longer dark intervals stretching like taffy. A faint giggle echoes, either fairies or sleep-deprived neurons firing their last. The 1967 Guinness Book lists an 11-day wakeful streak. The reward: hallucinated harps, cold spreads starting at your temples, dousing the last sparks of wakefulness. Fingertips go numb keys and rivet, dissolving into the void. Archaeologists found Egyptian pharaohs buried with obsidian sleep coins. To pay the Sandman, inflation's a bitch your tolls paid in pocket lint. The mattress tilts, spilling you into weightless drift. Stars blur, streaking like wet watercolors. Your final thought sticks, a trivia scrap. Cleopatra's night mask contained lead, should sprung for the aloe-infused. Eyelids meet, a velvet curtain dropping on a stage. Behind them, the true dark blooms patient and absolute. Moonlight pools at your feet, thick as spilled mercury, as the door looms ahead. Its oak planks shimmer, wormholes spelling runes your eyes refuse to trace. Ajar, just enough to show infinite void through the crack. Centuries-old European doorknobs were often coated in lead effect, explaining certain nobles' sleepwalking tendencies. Your palm hovers, feeling the chill before contact. Historians still argue whether the Romans invented hinges or just borrowed them from pissed-off ghosts. The wood groans, an old man's spine adjusting to movement. You push a scent of mothballs and burnt toast billowing out. 1920s mediums claimed spirit realms smell like overbaked communion wafers. Overachievers, those mediums. Step 1, toes breach the threshold. Air thickens, syrupy and warm, like breathing inside a sealed terrarium. Ancient Mesopotamians buried sleepers beneath temple doors to receive prophetic dreams. Most just got dirt naps. Step 2, heels lift. Gravity shifts. Suddenly you're floating horizontal, but upright. Keys jingle in your pocket, the sad rivet from the forge clinking against them. Some pre-Incan mummies wore dorky amulets to unlock the afterlife. Judging by this drafty eternity, they oversold the real estate. The door slams soundless. Darkness spills, not black, but the blue of forgotten computer screens. Your eyelids twitch automatic. Muscle memory fights to blink, but the air holds them open. Victorians believed staring into void light cured insomnia. Results were dubious. A shape materializes, a lantern dangling from nothing. Its flame burns downward, defying physics like a teenager's curfew. Reach for it, fingers pass through glassless iron. Cold licks your wrist, frost blooming in the shape of a pinecone. Wind sighs, carrying half a nursery rhyme in Dead Norse. Your shirt flaps, buttons threatening mutiny. 13th century Icelandic lullabies often omitted endings to trick infants into finishing the verse. Ancient helicopter parenting. The floor ripples, stone to water to static fuzz. Knees buckle, but you don't fall. Balance here follows dream logic. All trust falls and invisible hands. 18th century Parisian sleep doctors prescribed liquid walks over actual medicine. Can't fault their panache. Something tugs your sleeve, a shadow thread winding toward distant pinpricks of light. Follow it or get dragged. Byzantine emperors used weighted silk ropes to induce drowsiness during endless court rituals. Modern CEOs use espresso. The lights swell, revealing a garden of floating mattresses. Goose down tufts drift like dandelion spores. One pillow bears your childhood pillowcases, faded rocket ships. 70s NASA engineers actually tested zero-gravity naps. The mission patch read, Snorlab 1, lie back. Springs creak, a sound older than mattresses themselves. The ceiling swirls, Van Gogh's Starry Night, filtered through a lava lamp. Art scholars still spar over whether Van Gogh painted insomnia or caused it. Your toes unclench, a sigh unraveling from sternum to throat. The mattress hums, vibrations syncing with your pulse. Medieval peasants slept on flax-stuffed sacks, rated one flea to plague adjacent by Yelp reviewers of 1347. Eyelids flutter, but resistance fades. Each blink lasts longer dark intervals stretching like taffy. A faint giggle echoes, either fairies or sleep-deprived neurons firing their last. The 1967 Guinness Book lists an 11-day wakeful streak. The reward: hallucinated harps, cold spreads starting at your temples, dousing the last sparks of wakefulness. Fingertips go numb keys and rivet, dissolving into the void. Archaeologists found Egyptian pharaohs buried with obsidian sleep coins. To pay the Sandman, inflation's a bitch your tolls paid in pocket lint. The mattress tilts, spilling you into weightless drift. Stars blur, streaking like wet watercolors. Your final thought sticks, a trivia scrap. Cleopatra's night mask contained lead, should sprung for the aloe-infused. Eyelids meet, a velvet curtain dropping on a stage. Behind them, the true dark blooms patient and absolute.